Alrighty. What is going on, guys? And welcome to the Crew Motorfest. We're going to be playing a little bit of this tonight. Give me 1 second. Alright, sweet. What's good, everybody? What time is it for you guys? Alright, let's get loaded in here. Sweet. What's good, everybody? Alrighty. What is going on? We are playing the Crew Motorfest tonight. And my mission is to get some kilometers added throughout this game. But of course, you guys can help out too by clicking the link in the description. If you already have the game, you can click it and choose Red Team and link your account, and any kilometers or miles you drive around in the game will help our team out, and we will gain an accumulation of miles and kilometers by the end of the period, which I believe is like sometime maybe end of this week or next week. Or if you simply don't have the game, but you've always wanted to play the game and help out with the kilometers, you can click the link and you could play the game for free for 5 hours. So thank you, Nicholas, for the donation. But I'm going to be... I actually haven't played that much of this game, so we're going to go do some races, go mess around. You guys could give me suggestions in the chat below on what you'd want to see. Alright, so we have a yellow location. What is this even set to? Where does the game want me to go? I plan on streaming for 2 hours. Liberty Walk Punk Performance. Alright, let's go see what's up with this. I wouldn't be opposed to people joining, but I don't really know what the best way to get people in would be. And plus, there is only 4 slots, unfortunately. I wish you could have larger lobbies in this game, but I guess it's called the Crew for a reason, to have your own little crew. This thing sounds so good. Alright. Punk Performance. Oh. Alright, it's a playlist. So I get loaned an Aventador for this. And I can start this. Alright, we got an LP 700-4. Does it sound better in the game, though? Well, I mean, any car sounds better in real life than in game, but... Dang. The Aventador I was loaned is already modded out. This thing's got a wing, some aero.
So like we said, Liberty Walk is going for a different approach with their performance line. Top-end vehicle, different treatment. Light tuning, nothing too distorting. Front and side diffusers that widen the body while blending with the lines.
Wow, all these guys just all at once. What is going on back there? Alright, we gotta at least be able to do better.
I'm usually into buff street mods, but man, this is a beautiful job. I respect that.
I feel like I should have a goal in this stream on a vehicle or something I should work up towards. But I can't lie with you guys. There's one thing that's caught my eye that's in this game. And it actually is a Lamborghini. So, I guess maybe no surprise there. But I think there is a surprise with what kind of Lamborghini it is. You guys could leave your guesses if anyone has any hypothesis. Whoa. It's a crazy sound. I just hit the frickin' flag post. Wakashish. Get out of here, man. Oh, man. We're not doing as well anymore. They hooked me on early on by all crashing at once, but now they're overtaking me. The new one. No, it's not the Vuelto. Oh, I think I see something. I see someone saying it. Yeah, I'll give you a hint. The Lamborghini that I want to buy in this game doesn't have wheels. So that might be pretty obvious, but people may also not even know what is actually in the game. So I'll show it after this race, but it's pretty gangster. I might be able to afford it already. I just don't know if I want to blow all my money on this. I also don't know if you could sell vehicles in this game. I was trying to look for that, and I couldn't really see. Which is like, sure, I mean, that's fine. You know, that could be like a lot of easy money, because you do get like gifted and like you acquire a lot of vehicles easy. So it could be real easy if you could sell them for certain amounts to just like gain all your money that way. But at the same time, I feel like there's got to be a way to like remove, like, what if you just don't want a large collection?
I can fix a couple of scratches, but ruin the car and you'll be dealing.
So I feel like there's got to be a way to maybe remove vehicles from your thing in this game, but I don't know. But yes, it is the Lamborghini boat. It's more like a yacht. Alright, we're really not making much progress up to these guys. Yeah, he knew it. Yup. What's a good, reliable, decent, cheap manual car other than a Honda Civic and a Miata? Hey man, those are my first go-tos. I'm not gonna lie with you right there. I'm trying to think. Cause yeah, Honda's really got it going on. Something American that's something like GM. So like, I feel like a cheaper Chevy of some sort. It depends obviously on the price range that we're talking here, but I'm sure like, you know, you could definitely go out, probably any like older manual LS powered vehicle, or just even an old Mustang for the matter, probably hold up really well. However, yeah, it wouldn't get as good as gas mileage as like a Civic or Miata. I mean, there's always the good old FRS BRZ platform, which I've yet to actually experience, but they seem to last pretty well. There's a couple of little things that I think is recommended to do, but and I think 350Zs can be cool, but from my experience, they actually can have some issues here and there. So it just, in my opinion, for the low budget, I think like a manual Civic Si, like you could literally, like, depending on the price you're willing to pay, kind of look at the different generations. But I just think that is just such a good, like, quality machine for the money. Because it's not going to cause you any problems. It should run for a while. And then also the parts, when they do cause problems, should be very, very cheap. My Porsche 997 is an example of a car that, like, isn't absurdly expensive as far as, like, we're talking, like, under 50. but its parts cost that of like an R8, like that of like a supercar. So there's a lot of cars that are like that. Hondas aren't like that, or like the Skyline too. A Skyline is like, you got any Skyline, even a non-GTR for like under 25 or 30. The parts though will just stack up. Same with BMW, same with most German cars, really, actually. What other events are on here? Oh, we could go to Lamborghini. Okay, so I have 220 credits. So let me show you guys this, all right? This game has... We gotta scroll all the way down. This game has a lot of cars. I don't know how many has been added over time, but there's actually... It has like almost all the key automobiles. What was crazy is that I was able to recreate the current fleet in the most recent gaming video, and nothing was like... Okay, the only car that was out of generation was the 911, but I'm just thankful that there's even Porsche in this game, because yeah, you just never know these days if like Porsche is gonna be licensed into the game and whatnot. So I mean, I was thankful of that, and it wasn't even like I was stuck for a GT3. It was at least like I was able to use a 4S, which my car that I have is a 2S. I passed Lamborghini a long time ago, actually. Here we go. Look at this. The Technomar for Lamborghini 63. This thing's so crazy. I could preview it. This is so crazy. This is huge. Okay, I've been curious just what it's like to drive this around. Yes, I could test drive. All right, this is perfect, because I kind of just want to like whip this for a moment, but I don't want to spend all my money that I have in the game for it. Dude, this thing is a literal... This isn't the Lamb boat. This is the Lamb yacht. This is giant. Look at that. You have all the hospitality that could literally be under the main deck. This is so crazy. It takes a while to speed up. Holy crap. This thing is so cool. I want to do a video where we race Lamborghini for Lamborghini, and someone is on this boat while someone's on land. Although this boat, it's so large, so it actually looks like we're going really slow. Obviously, 111, 112 on water is really fast. The Lambo goes hard. Dude, this is crazy. Like, I didn't expect them to have a aquatic vehicle in this game that's this large. Because, yeah, just look at the size of my character. It's tiny. I need to compare this to an automobile. I bet an automobile just... Yeah, it looked freaking puny in comparison. Okay, I'm not even anywhere near... Oh, here's some cars. All right, let's see. How far can we beach the Lambo? Especially as we run out of time. All right, guys. Holy crap. Look at the size comparison. There's a Silverado. Dude, this thing... Okay, you really don't get a sense of scale until you just beach this thing. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, yeah. Look at the giant box truck. Alright, that was a solid test drive session. I don't need to buy this thing. I mean, maybe, if I have more money in the game, but...
Let's complete this playlist. Taking epic supercars and making them even cooler.
She wants me to play more of this playlist.
Makes one wonder, how do you mod a car that's
You've seen one with your own eyes. Yeah, I've never seen a Lambo in person before. I don't know how many of them are made, and also I don't know how it even works, because... It seems like it's like a... To me, it's just like some yacht that is sponsored by Lamborghini. Like, it obviously, like, I don't see Lamborghini actually just out here making boats. So I don't really know what the actual how it works kind of side of it all is, but it is cool. It's cool how it does look like Lamborghini's design language onto a boat. I'm currently in the Liberty Walk playlist. I don't know how I feel about it. So we have a new island added, if anyone hasn't been on this game in a while. So you have Maui over here. The only thing we have that's available is a chase squad, which requirements are unfulfilled. But that is sick. And then you have a huge volcano that, is literally always smoking. Let's see the cars that I own. All right, we'll do an Automotive garage tour on the Crew Motorfest. I don't know where all these cars came from. We got Civic Type R Fitted Edition. We got an E30 M3. We got an Integra Type R. We got a 308 GTS. We got Chevelle SS. S14, Buick GNX, 2000 GT. That's cool. Ooh, a Caprice. Mini, DBS, the LP640, R8 Spider, Hellcat Red Eye Wide Body, Vanquish, SL63, and then the Porsche 4S. This is cool. You got Liberty Walk Supra in the game. And then you got Hoonigan vehicles in the game. And then we got my attempt at The Exorcist in the game. You got Scotto's, another Hoonigan car. You got the Tennis Ball, G82 M4. You got the Amira. That's cool. You got the New Z. And you got the 718 Spider. Lancer Evo 9. Then you got my Skyline, AP2 S2Ks. Miatas, and then you got a bunch of Forsberg cars, Hoonigan car, the Electric R Volkswagen, Hypersport, SF90, my attempt at a Raptor, Gladiator. So, I don't know if, yeah, it doesn't seem to, like, let me remove some of these, because I don't even need all these. I want to know what the 308 is like. This is kind of cool. This would be such a vibe, just cruising around Hawaii. Little manual Ferrari. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm trying to figure out what I figure out my controls. If I go down on the... No. Okay, right on the D-pad is the view. It's cool, because, yeah, this guy, he doesn't keep his hand on the wheels at all times because he's got a shift. But, yeah, this car is a vibe. Alright, where should we go next? Okay, well, it has another waypoint. I think we have another Liberty Walk event to do. I'm saying there's a lot quicker methods of transportation. I think the game is worth getting, but if you are skeptical, you can play it for free for 5 hours and then make your decision then. But this game is a solid step ahead now of the previous Crew games, especially with now Maui having a whole nother island. Like, you have 2 decently to scale Hawaiian islands in one game, and you still have all the 3 vehicle formats. So this game gives you, I mean, there's a lot that's being offered here. We just knocked down one of those. We just fully knocked down one of those balloons. I wasn't sure. I'm surprised that the game actually has that all, like, has the physics of those calibrated for that. But I guess that makes sense because there are planes in this game, so they'd have to account for that. I've only flown the one plane that I was just in, so I don't really know how all the other planes are. There aren't that many. At least, like, there aren't that many diverse ones. There's a lot of, like, stunt planes in this game. But there's a lot of cars. They have quite the library. This is literally the same race. I'm not doing this again. I'm doing something else.
So close. Try again.
We already did that race. Hawaii Scenic Tour. Ocean Sky. Ooh. A Porsche story. 911 Legacy. Alright, we're gonna fly over there real quick. FH5 is definitely a lot better than Motorsport. Like, usually I would say that it's kind of up to preference. You know, if you're just into more simulated, more into racetracks, more into just racing. But nah, like, it's gotten to it at the current in the current situation of things. I think Horizon 5 is objectively better than Motorsport.
I'm terrible at keeping secrets. It's a Porsche. Okay, you probably guessed that it's the 911. Let's find out what makes this car iconic.
Yeah.
The container in Pearl Harbor, and let's get behind the wheel of a legend.
There is the Made in Japan new playlist. Could we see a city camouflage in Motorfest? Well, let me do some scouting right now. Because I see some traffic. And it's an interesting question on what the traffic is. There's not that much traffic right around here. Alright, so you have a cab. I'm struggling to find traffic, guys. This isn't looking good for if we were to try and play city camouflage. Holy crap. That's crazy. You could just find these guys in the middle of a race. Alright, there's a limo. What vehicle is... Hello. Ford Taurus. Oh, there's a lot of cars over here. Maybe someone could park at the airport. Yeah, you got the Silverado, Ford Focus. I don't think any of those cars are in the game as drivable. So if we were to play City Camouflage, I think we need to bring Slendy back and have his knowledge base on what's in the game, meaning not much of it. That way we could get away with maybe driving around hiding in cars that are literally not the AI vehicles, because I don't know if there are any AI vehicles that you can actually drive.
Here we go.
But Porsche 911 Legacy. Oh, this is sick.
Of course, we're all huge Porsche fans, and it means a lot to us to have
I'd say F1 over IndyCar. Do I miss the RS? I do. Like, not to the point where I, like, regret my decision on selling it, because I just needed the money out of it for wanting to buy the Raptor when I bought that. And the Raptor has done me really well over the years, as far as just packing the homies in, as hauling stuff around, packing wheels and moving, and then just hauling cars, being a tow rig. I have made so much more use with that, and already I put actually as many miles on the Raptor as I actually had put on the Focus when I owned it. When I bought the Focus is the only car that I've ever owned brand new. So drove it out of the dealership, had 11 miles to it, was a brand new car, only new car I've ever owned, and I sold it at like 40,000 miles. So I put all 40 of those out. Granted, like a Skyline came in, and then a couple other cars started to trickle, and then you use it less. But I bought my Raptor at 60,000 miles. I kind of wanted to cheap out a little bit more on it, because Raptors are not cheap. and now it's at like 90, 98 or so, something like that. We've put a lot in what feels like less time than I've had the RS, but that's just because we do so much hauling with that thing. I've done so many road trips already. There was a road trip involved just bringing the truck home alone. It got driven all the way from Houston all the way back to Seattle. But yeah, it was what towed the Mercy and moved everything down to Arizona, and it's towed my Skyline to LA and back from Seattle. Yeah, the thing's done good. All right, we had a little cool Porsche, little Porsche promo. So now I don't know what I'm driving to, but we'll see. But if you're new here to the stream, welcome in. Feel free to ask any questions. This is honestly like half a Q&A because I'm solo on this one. So helps me out. And it's a good time for me to at least like be able to answer any questions that people just might have. But we're here trying to drive some kilometers throughout the game, trying to see this game's potential and basically promote that. You guys can click the link in the description, play this game for free for 5 hours if you don't have it, or you can click the link and connect your account if you already do have the game. Click on Red Team, because that's the team we're on, and help us earn some kilometers over around. Because yeah, I'm competing. We got Air 12 on Blue Team. We got a couple other YouTubers, I think more in the mainstream end or gaming end, that are on other teams. And I'm very curious to see how many that we'll have when it's all done. Yeah, I still talk to Nasty. We were just gaming just the other night. There's some Forza videos with him in it that are still, that'll be uploaded soon. Alright, so we have Porsche 911 playlist. And it says I'm going to be loaned a Porsche. Ooh! So we got some industrial. Now the question is, what 911 are they going to loan me? Do I get a choice? Is this the one I get loaned? If I had the opportunity to buy the RS back, would I take it? That's tough. I say I miss it, but right now, here's the thing, right? Here's how my brain looks at that question. If I had the opportunity to buy it back, obviously, I'd imagine it'd be for a reasonable price of what it's worth. And for what it's worth, if let's say it was like 30, 28, even 25K, that'd be great and all, and I'd be happy to have it back, and I would genuinely use it. But I don't think I'd be able to make that many videos on it, because I already kind of did, and we already did a lot to it, and there's only so much you can do to a car like that until you start ruining it, in my opinion. Because I'm not going to do like freaking Jake Paul wide body and stuff out here. And so the way my brain looks at that is that if that opportunity was genuinely presented to me, I still might be hesitant, because I'd be like, okay, but what if we use that money for a different project, a different car that hasn't been covered on the channel before, and that way it's just something new, and something new for the viewers. And it may not have to be something new for the internet, because everything has been done on the internet. But if it's like, what if we like bought like a BRZ or a Subaru or something like instead, it'd be different. That like is something that I've never touched before, that, you know, people could at least see like how Jack would go about that, or, you know, something new and different. Because I'm sure like the initial video of like I got the RS back would probably go crazy, but then shortly after, I think people would just immediately like get used to that, and then they'd be like, all right, now what's next? And yeah, that's just how that would go. This little thing is pretty quick. Is this a 901? I know this is like old. This is like one of the first 911s. But some Porsche nerd. I'm striving to be a dedicated Porsche nerd. I've learned a lot ever since getting my 997, and I do understand why Porsche people are as nitpicky and nerdy and crazy as they are. But I still don't know. I'm still not 100% certain what this is. So someone can let me know if this is a 901.
Some pro driving here.
Hennessy offers a 4 or 5 horsepower package for the Focus RS. I've never seen that. I have never. There's no way. That's crazy. Is that something that they might have done that once upon a time? They do a lot of experimental stuff because they try and test platforms to see if they'd be any good. When we were there, when we visited, they picked us up in a Hennessy Tundra, a brand new Tundra, the current one with the carbon wrap, the forged carbon wrap. And it was sick. It was really dope. But they were just they put on their Hennessy wheels, some they lifted it a little bit, put on some Hennessy light bars, like lots of cosmetics, and it was really cool. But they were telling us that was just they were kind of testing the waters on it, see if there was a market for that. And I don't believe that they've fully gone in with that ever since. But I just wonder if that's what happened with the RS when that was when that's what you've seen, because I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, that'd be crazy, dude. That'd be so funny. Because anything to me with a Hennessy badge on it is like just very like aggressive, very like big power, aggression, freaking masculine. So it'd just be funny. This little like hot hatch has a big Hennessy logo. I wouldn't get the Hennessy package on my Raptor unless they were kind enough to offer a crazy deal of some sort. But my Raptor is kind of like, yeah, it's like tow rig / daily / fun toy every now and then. But it'd be a lot of money to go to something that I don't think I would really utilize like enough fully. I've never been like trying to build up my Raptor as far as performance, like trying to make it faster. Just because, yeah, I don't think it's like necessary. I don't think I'll ever consider buying an R34. That ship has sailed. I didn't think I wanted an R34 back when I first got my Skyline, and back then, obviously they weren't legal, but like there were, you know, there were some loopholes, and with being presented those loopholes, you could probably have had one, a GTR in, you know, and been able to have drive around in the States or whatever for as low as like under 80 grand. And even back then, yeah, that seemed way too expensive for me for what that was. So now that they're like 150, yeah, that's, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're gonna miss me with that one. And that's mainly because obviously my Skyline is like, my 32 is at least a large percentage of that as far as just type of car. Damn, you got all the airplanes going on over here. So we did this. Are there different stages to this? Because what am I missing here? Because like when I don't want to just retry the event. But is that it? Did I already do that? Damn, Supercar Blondie is in this game? That's crazy. Dream Cars presented by Supercar Blondie. Alright, let's go do Made in Japan. Let us do that.
A playlist is available, driver.
Do I worry about hidden issues when I buy secondhand cars? I do.
We put this playlist together to give you
That's why I
a taste of
value
the
reliability.
culture.
Like, I definitely take more risks than the average person when it comes to buying a car. But I probably play it a lot more safe than the average automotive YouTuber. Because there's a reason why my Skyline is still, like, stock power. There's a reason why I'm not gonna ever twin turbo my Mercy. There's a reason why I'm also not gonna turbo my 997. There's just a lot of things. Yes, I worry about hidden issues. I guess I kind of have like a sweet spot or kind of like it all depends on the car that you're looking at, I guess, what's appropriate mileage or condition. But I try to go after clean cars with clean history. To me, as long as it's, to me, I'm not the biggest stickler for if it has like an accident like on the history, if that's happened. To me, obviously the title status makes a lot more of a difference. And my one car that isn't clean title is the Murcielago, and I could go on as far as my justifications for that. And if I were to, I guess, if I were to talk to anyone else about like clean title versus rebuilt title, all this kind of stuff, I would say that clean is worth it. And it's kind of like how much of your money do you want to, it's like choosing how much of your money do you want to like pocket away into the bank, and the bank being like the car. If you go the rebuilt route, yes, you're essentially spending less money, but that vehicle is going to obviously always be worth less money. Whereas if you go the clean route, you have to put more of your money away into that car, but it will hold itself better. But selling rebuilt title cars is a lot more difficult as far as with my experience. And it depends on the type of car, but a lot of people, you always got those buyers that are just super stingy, or that will immediately laugh or mock, if they realize that car's not clean, all this kind of stuff. So when it comes to, I think when it comes to the selling point or when that will come, like I think there's a huge incentive to have a clean car, so that it could be you could have a lot more ease of getting rid of it when you want to, and don't have to, like, selling cars can be such a pain, especially. In my scenario, I get a lot of just spam and a lot of pointless messages that are people they're just trying to say hi, or they're just like, because of the YouTube channel and stuff of that nature too. So that's also something that, I have to go through if I'm selling it through myself. Yeah, and then there's just, obviously with clean title stuff, there's just a lot less chance of risk, and you could really you could at least have a little more confidence in the background of things. So my justification though for me having one rebuilt title car though is that this was a car that I frankly couldn't afford in clean status. That the difference was, $100,000, and at the time of when I got my car, I just didn't even have that. I couldn't just go all in on that. And then the other thing is that this is a car that has always been it. Like, this is the car. A lot of people think, know me for like the Skyline stuff, and I love that. That was, it was also a dream car, but the Mercy was really like the childhood, the ultimate thing for me, my end all be all. And so I don't currently have plans on selling it, and it could be a forever car. I also, know that things can change and things in life can happen and all this kind of stuff. So you never know for sure. But this car, I really went in with the mindset of like, this could be a forever car. So, and so with that combined, and also the inventory, there's no inventory when I was looking. There was one other car of consideration, and I would have had to outpocket like $60,000 more to get it, and it would have been black, and it would have had no carbon options, and it would have been on the entire other side of the country. So I would have had to fly or ship or deal with all that. Whereas when I was getting my orange car and when I found it, it was only 2 hours from me. It just happened to be in another country, but we got that worked out. It was in Canada. And so, this is just the whole long justification spiel for that. But all the way back to the original question this guy asked is, do I, does it ever scare me of hidden things, hidden issues in cars and stuff? And it does, and so that's why I try to buy clean. I don't try and buy too high a mileage, but it all depends on the car. So if you're buying a Honda Civic, I feel like you could probably get away with it having 100,000 miles easy. I mean, when I bought my 350Z, I bought one that had 100K miles on it, like over. So there's that. But I think around like 50,000 miles is like a pretty good amount, to where you could get some, you could save some depreciated money. But it's not gonna be. It's not. It should. You should be able to have a life with the car after, because the issue is when you buy really high at like 100,000 miles or so, there's not like, you got to have a life with the whole car afterward if you want to be able to drive around all this kind of stuff, and it doesn't give you, I feel like, that much more room until you start getting into the really high territory where you're now putting like 150,000 stuff, or buy 150,000 you're in the 200,000. Why didn't I go on Gold Rush this year? Because it's expensive. And they've been really nice to me. But I still have to pay like everyone else. And it's really expensive. And so I mean, their entry price for the full rally is $22,000. And I was fortunate enough to be the type of person to be able to just check it off the bucket list and to be able to do that, and that was always just such a dream. But I'm also the type of person that looks at that and I can be like, that's a S2000. Like, that's a whole car. And for what it's worth it for me, and also for the content too. I think rally content is awesome. I love creating it because I just think like so many wild. There's so much potential for crazy stuff and crazy content happening. But it's also, there's an element of it that's like very unrelatable. And I think that's kind of like steered people off. So as the years have gone on, the rally content as far as a viewership rate doesn't do as good. But I want to do another one, and I love rallying. I feel like if I had all the money in the world, money wasn't ever an issue, and all this and that, I would just rally all the time. I just get to pick a new car out every time, get to like conceptualize a new livery for it every time, a new theme. I'd have a blast doing that. So I mean, rallying is. I mean, now that I've gotten a taste of it, it is something that if you guys ever get the chance to, like, to me, it's heaven. I would never try to organize my own rally. No, that's way more work than you realize. Locking in all the hotels, accommodations, the fees. I mean, I've seen so many scenarios of where it's gone south too. And so Daniel Mack, for example, is a content creator example of someone who hosted his own rally, and we've been on it. But he actually has it managed by a team of people that specialize in rallies. Some of them are actually from Gold Rush. So that just goes to show, like, you need specialized people to organize a rally and have that all set up.
Want to show us what you can do? Try this guy then.
Bro, these characters look like my in-game GTA character. The Made in Japan playlist. Alright, let's try and get some of our racing concentration on real quick. This is a sick starting point. We got the freaking temple. Oh, we are jumping into this. Holy crap.
Alright, kiddo, game on. We're going for
Alright, passing 34. When the ND Miata is winning is beating a 34? What? Alright, no complaints. They gave me an NSX though. This is sick. You will not see a motorcycle on my channel. Not from me. I don't ever plan to ride. I've actually, like, I feel like recently I've seen a lot of really unfortunate outcomes of people on social media that ride. And so for me, I'm not one to take the odds. Thank you, Lunar, for the donation. What are my thoughts on the DDE Twin Turbo F12? I think it's an ambitious, crazy build. I don't even know the current state of it because it seems like from a passive viewer that it's been like taken apart like 3 times. So I don't, yeah, I don't even know how it's doing right now. I think like it's a really cool idea. It's really crazy. And it's really like the execution of it too is really dope. Like the flames coming out of the hood and the turbos just where they're mounted, and just the fact that no one's really done that before in that car. The thing is that I'm a big sound guy, and I'm a big high revving, high screaming F1 sounding sound guy. So if I ever owned an F12, I would never twin turbo it, because to me it just, you know, it just takes away from that glorious scream of that V12 motor that they have. But for someone like DDE, I mean, it makes a lot more sense. They already have like freaking like 3 other screamers just in the garage. They have a Mercy, they have an SVJ, they had yeah, they go through cars. They have so many cars. Their 599 is NA and screams as well. Has a 599s naturally have a more flat tone, but with certain exhaust setups now, you could have that thing sound almost like an F12 too. So for their scenario, it's not so much of an L on how the turbos muffle the noise. But for me, if I were to ever own it, it would still probably be my only exotic I'd have. And, you know, I'd keep it NA all day, baby. Oh, gosh. We're getting a little loose here. We're still winning, though. Got some sick decoratives on this race, though. I really like the amount of detail that they went through for this course. Damn, bringing back Bowler Madness and hashtag Red Rumpo. Hashtag Red Team, baby. You guys better support Red Team. Type in chat if you have put any kilometers down in this game for my team. I would really like to know. I will shout out your name if you have. Although now I'm realizing that me saying that, you guys are probably just going to say so anyways. All right, we're continuing on.
Next stop, Kaneohe.
All right, we're gonna play out the Made in Japan playlist out here because I like this one so far the best. Out of the Liberty Walk, out of the Porsche 911, the Made in Japan has my heart, and I got arguably the coolest car, the NSX, to drive around in. Cruising in my M4, let's go. Shout out Cordarius Yates. Good night, Lucario.
Even notorious racing groups like the Midnight Club cut their teeth here. And that's what slightly inspired our next event.
Dang. Alright, so she says this next event was inspired by Midnight Club. Oh gosh. Good thing we could break through those. The 70s Cadillac Eldorados. Oh, I love those. Those are sick. Those are dope. I just don't know much about them, but I like that. I like that. Have I seen the GT1 kit on Damon's Mercy? I have seen it in person. I have vlog footage that I've not yet posted. I actually sometimes you record random vlog bits, but there's no context, and you don't record a vlog that's long enough to fill a whole video. So you just record like a segment. But then I like struggle to like where I would place it in a vlog. And so that's kind of like where we're at with this footage. But I was at South OC Cars and Coffee in the 997, and they pulled up in the GT1 Mercy. And so I got to see it in person. And I mean, I actually got to... there were some photographers that wanted to get some rollers of the 997 as we left the event, and the Mercy rolled up behind us on the freeway, and boy, when I tell you the amount of road presence that car has, when you have the GT1 front fenders, the freaking giant race wing, oh, and the yellow fog lights below in the front bumper, like, there are a few vehicles that had the presence that thing had. But if I were to have a nitpick, And I would confront this to his face, like, you know, I don't care if like anyone would ever like my nitpick is that they wrapped, because the car is wrapped, it's wrapped white, I'm pretty sure. They wrapped over the headlight washer covers, which are the like little flaps that are under the headlights. Those are supposed to be black. And yeah, just the fact that they're matched into like that, it just looks off. And it would be, as a Mercy enthusiast, it would be a night and day difference if those could be black. But other than that, it's crazy. I would not do a Gentani F1 on my car because I have the IPE, which has the perfect pitch. It screams. There's an LP640 already sounds like an F1 car. Like, this isn't an Aventador where you need a specifically designed exhaust for it to sound higher pitch. These cars have the pitch dialed from factory with their header design and just the Bizzariti V12. And so my IPE is all the tone and everything that I could want. And it's actually not, it actually like has a muffler that makes it the perfect volume, because I've heard Mercies that are louder, and believe me when I say that my car is not quiet. It's like, even at idle, it is not quiet, but it also, it could be worse, and I think it's for the better on the current volume that it's at, just because like at least like when I cold start or whatever, it's not like an explosion like my ZL1 is, or it's just if you're leaving a neighborhood or you're leaving just any place or whatever. I mean, obviously the car already gets a ton of attention, but like, you just don't need, like, you know, to be the loudest freaking thing on planet Earth everywhere you go in that car. It also doesn't drone. That's another thing. You could have exhaust that drone in there. So, yeah. DD does a great job at marketing Gentani. And they have clearly done phenomenal work on the Aventador systems, but to me the Mercy system is, there's just a lot of good options in general, and I don't think there's really a single perfect right one. You could go IPE, you could go Chryseg, you could go Fab Speed, you could go Brilliant probably, but they all sound very similar. Most underrated car brand is tough, because I'm not like that into. I clearly don't venture out of somewhat mainstream territory. Obviously, all the cars that I own are of pretty huge name brands. Whereas there's a lot of people out there that are like big Lotus guys, big Jaguar guys, big. What's a smaller brand? If you own even a Maserati, that's a little more niche. Or if you own like a freaking.
City pedestrians safe. Along with suboptimal road conditions, these mountain passes are filled with hairpin turns and other challenges.
Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this right now.
The best way to take sharp turns without losing speed.
Yeah, I don't know what the most underrated brand is to me. If I were to make a tier list, though, I would say that Toyota and Porsche are for sure S-tier brands. For similar but different reasons. For, I guess, the similar reasons of being reliable and in quality. Obviously, Porsche is going to... I mean, obviously, Toyota is going to be a lot cheaper than Porsche. And Porsche is kind of like a different market of things. But they both, I guess, deliver reliability and quality on a level that's just really exceptional. And you've got to see the latest vid. They fixed the sound issue, but I'm with you on the NA sound. Oh, okay. Okay, you talking about the F12. I believe so.
Oh, and one last thing. A Togo race usually features only 2 races.
Thoughts on the M4 G82 comp? I don't know much specifically on that car, comp versus regular. But I really want to drive a manual one. I've only driven the auto. I think it's a... Yeah, as far as with aftermarket support, because I think from factory, there's, you know, the design, everyone's just kind of accepted it, but like, let's not forget, that thing has some freaking nostrils on it, all right? But it's got some crazy aftermarket support, and so you can make it look really beautiful, especially with like the CSL trunk lip, those CSL taillights, and just ways to kind of more blend in that giant front nose. And it's a powerhouse. It's G80 and G82 is kind of the new replacement for an R35 GTR as far as like, I mean, it's not exactly cheap, but it's also not like supercar level expensive. But as far as like the most crazy powerhouse of like, dude, you just load on some bolt-ons and before you know it, you're making like 700, 800 horsepower very reliably, it sounds like, at least out of the S58. And so it's really good speed for the money if you want that too. My one gripe when I drove it though is that stock in auto, it really just didn't do much for me. And the car has a lot of engine braking, so it does. BMWs sometimes in their M modes or whatever do this thing on when you let off, the car like jolts like to like a halt in a way to kind of like, I guess, make the driving experience a little more characteristic and like lively.
It's just you and me this
But
time.
on the G82 M4 that I drove around, it did it aggressively. The engine braking was crazy. And so it actually makes you kind of sick after a while, because if you're just doing these pulls and you let off, the car just like, it just like freaking comes to a halt every time. I didn't really like the feel of that.
See what you can do. Plus, I'll give you some tips on the way.
And I also think that for that money, like especially if like you're not searching for a manual, a W205 C63S is quite an option right there, because you get a bi-turbo V8 instead of a freaking twin-turbo inline six. That sounds like a weed whacker. Got to do like quite an exhaust setup on the G82 to make it sound decent. But Mercedes, you don't gotta worry. You got that growl, you got speed, you got even crazier stereo and arguably a crazier interior. I mean, I know a lot of people like I'm sure the BMW interior it's pretty wild. You get the bucket seats in there, you got ambient lighting, you got the freaking full panoramic screen. It's crazy. The Mercedes, though, is elegant. It's elegantly beautiful. I just think I think when you're talking in between those cars, W205 that might be my consideration.
A sick rotary engine and one hell of a look. That's Tanana's car, and she seems pretty confident you could beat me with it. Let's prove her wrong.
Do I ever walk into my garage, see the Mercy and R32, and get a sense of disbelief? My dream cars are mine. I mean, definitely. I have had countless moments where I will just go walk into the garage just by myself and just hang out, just vibe, and just soak it in. Cause yeah, it's so insane how we've gotten here. Oh, are you kidding me? Okay, I'm now just realizing you can rewind in this game. Wait, oh, I gotta hold it?
Okay, you got me, but just wait.
Wait, so is this like live? Oh shoot. Oh shoot, wait, this is a 1v1. Hang on. We're gonna catch this dude.
A little brutal, don't you think? You're a fighter.
Now, I have to point out, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but we have been driving every single JDM icon in this playlist. We first started with an NSX. We last had an R34 GTR, and now we're in an FDRX7. Toyota Supra next. You already know it. It better happen. But on the point of do I ever just walk in the garage and soak in the surrealness, this is where another kind of pro about the Mercy came in, at least over the R8, that is kind of just me sharing, is that to me, withholding a Mercy is so much more surreal on levels beyond than as crazy as the R8 was, because yeah, it's just it's V12 Lambo, it's true bull, it's doors up, it's just such an icon, and it's just such a thing that I just, you know, it's endgame for me. You know, there's kind of like different side directions that I would want to go, and of course there are more expensive, even crazier cars out there, but they've never like really like been my, like, you know, the car that I've had my sights on. And what's cool about that though is that, or what a perk or what a pro I realized when I got it, is that when you have a car that is your end game dream car, is so dream fulfilling on the levels that like something like the Mercy is, you get enjoyment out of this car even when you're not driving it. Meaning that I could just be at the grocery store and I'll just like, it'll just, you know, I'll just have that realization again. I'll just click in that like, holy crap, I have that car, or that car is sitting at home, or that car is, you know, that car is around, and we have that now, or whatever. And it just, you know, I get just a wave of just like, you know, just like good vibes, good feelings because of that. And I mean, I've really had a lot of it, especially like, you know, the first couple months of owning the car. And I didn't get anything on that level from the other cars that I've gone through, because obviously this car to me is just on such an absurd level beyond. And so yeah, I think a lot of cars, the real perk of the car is obviously just being able to drive it. It gives you happiness when you're driving it. But this car gives me arguably like almost as much happiness just knowing that it's around and knowing that I've accomplished it. And so I can get joy out of this car by not even having to be in it. And I think that's the craziest perk.
At least that's what my databases tell me. Again, I'm just a robot.
My dream 3-car garage. That's a really good question. Boil it down to 3. All right, well, manual LP640. We'll already lock that in. That'll be the obvious one.
You've seen traditional Japan. Now it's time to enter the modern age.
And
be prepared. The contrast is
I'm trying to think, like, then I'd have like a dream like daily driver. There's like, as far as the dailies go, there's a lot of different things that I would want. Like, it could either be a Raptor R, it could either be a G63. I know that sounds crazy, but trust, you just gotta trust, those things are good. An RSQ8 or an RS6 Avant. I think a Raptor R though would just be, yeah. Okay, we'll just put in Raptor R. We'll just put that in. We'll get like the most. We'll make it the most baller. Freaking, yeah. No, we're not gonna increase the difficulty because I can't multitask and I'm trying to answer questions here. We'll get the most baller Raptor R build. Have like it like added power. Have like lifted and like just all the goodies. Now, as far as that last car, we got manual LP640, we got Raptor R, Dream 3-car garage. I know exactly what it would be. It would be it'd be a Porsche. It'd be a 911. That's what we've come to. I'm sorry, guys. The day has come. We have fallen victim to just Porsches in general. And fallen victim so much that, yes, the Skyline is not in this trio. But this is figurative. This is dream. This would be boring to answer if I just answered all the cars that I currently have. And so with that, I'm going to answer an elevated version of the cars that I currently have. So it would probably be like a 997... .2 GT3 RS in the Grigio gray, but not the red accents with the red wheels, the like champagne bronze accenting stripe, and then like 3-piece BB or like BBS like EO7s or like E88s or something on it.
Incredible, you did beat Hayato
yeah.
in the Toga duel. I knew it. There's something about you. Hayato is
yeah,
one of the
that
best
would be
racers
it.
I know. Kudos. playground, the drift track.
All right, so we're just sliding out here. How does this work? Okay, we gotta reach points. Okay, so guys, we actually got bamboozled. I was definitely certain
As you already know,
that
drifting
a
is
Mark
born
IV
in Japan.
Supra
That
would
is
be
where you'll find
next
the biggest drifting
in
scene
the
and
cards,
some of the
but
best drifting spots, of course.
I guess we got an RX-7 again, but
The ABC circuit is one of the
this thing
most
looks a lot better than the
famous
last one
places
we're in.
the
I
world
love
for
this
drifting.
body kit.
Designed by drifters for drifters. Who knows? Maybe Motorfest will get you drifting there someday.
Trying to figure out the best way to do this. Ooh. Okay, we might have just lost points there. We gotta try and multiply these.
How do you feel about my modded RX-7? Tougher yet still elegant. That is my RX-7.
Bro, I like the
2.0
RX-7,
for you.
but like, man.
Because Japanese car culture isn't only famous for its drifting history. It also brought
much time do
modern
we got?
cars to another level among
Okay, I
many
think we
other
could do
things.
this. We're like a third to the goal. Oh gosh, the handbrake, it's a little bit too much. This car just wants to like, okay, here we go. We just need more
Push that beauty
speed.
to its limit.
Yeah.
With my permission.
Oh, and then it's gripping back up. Yeah, this course is almost not technical enough to perform the slides. Oh, we're so close. Oh no, we just lost a whole ton of points. We're not gonna make it. All right, I'm determined. We're definitely gonna be able to do this. But I need to fully concentrate. If the Mercy wasn't in your Dream 3 car garage, what would it be? That's a good question. I don't know. It need to be something Italian with the high revving V12.
Incredible. You did beat Hayao
I feel like I
in the
just-
duel. I knew it. There's
I'll always
something about
want
you.
some Italian mid-engine car like that in my life.
Kudos.
But yeah, if it weren't the Mercy, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it maybe. I hate to say it, but yeah, maybe an SVJ Aventador. If we're talking unlimited budget here. Or an 05 GT, or
As you already know, drifting
or
is
even a
born in
Carrera
Japan. That is
GT.
where you'll find the biggest drifting scene and some of the best drifting spots, of course. Like, the ABC circuit is one of the most famous places in the world for drifting. Designed by drifters for
This chick
drifters.
educating me on
Who knows?
Ebisu.
Maybe Motorfest will get you
I gotta
drifting
stop
there
hitting the
someday.
wall though. I'm breaking the combos. I'm definitely doing better this round than I was last. Oh Jesus. Come on, come
How
on.
do you feel about my modded RX-7? Tougher yet still elegant. That is my RX-7 2.0 for you. Because Japanese car culture isn't only famous for its drifting history. It
Come
also
on.
brought modded cars to another level, among many other things.
Yeah, hold that. All right, we're getting good points. We're getting good points. I better not hit the wall.
Come on, you're almost done. Push that beauty to its limit. You
All right,
have my
we're getting there.
permission.
We're getting there. We got this. We got this. We're at X34. Come on. Come on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This corner is going to give it to us. Yeah. Let's see. How many more can we keep going? Oh, geez. This is an awkward section of the track. All right. Much better this time. Nitro helps with drifting. Oh, I'll have to try that next time. Would I consider an S7? If I had a huge car collection, I would consider an S7. I wouldn't consider an S7 any day for if I was limited to 3 vehicles. Because no disrespect to God's creation, literally Bruce Almighty himself. But yeah, that thing's kind of a piece. I mean, it is nowhere near going to be as refined and as good of a car as a Carrera GT, for example. And so I would dream to own an S7, but it would probably exist in like a large warehouse of cars that, you know, if we got to that point in life.
Drifting is a popular racing style in Japan, but drag racing also gets its fair share of gearheads. There's a drag spot set up not too far from here.
We still got 148 people watching. Shout out to y'all that are still in the stream. Welcome to anyone that's still new in here. We're getting some kilometers, some mileage done in the game. You guys can click the link in the description and link your account. And please support us as Red Team. Help me get some in-game kilometers against AR12 Gaming and other YouTubers. If I were to get to the point to be able to get a hypercar, I'd probably go with like my considerations would be like LaFerrari or yeah, Koenigsegg Agera. James out here, he living the dream. Cause yeah, I mean, like to me, those cars are so much more like one of their own than like that of like a P1. A P1 is amazing, but like, don't get me wrong, you could probably get like 70% of a P1 out of a 720 or a 765. But also, if Carrera GT would count as a hypercar, because like it's funny, because like in the past they were known as supercars, but they kind of withhold hypercar status. Like Carrera GT is now $1 million car. And of its time, it was like kind of the hypercars of what there was in the league of the Enzo, the Zonda, stuff of that nature. Good night, Jordan. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the kind message. Oh, God. Okay. Keep the gauge in the green zone. How do you do this? Oh, RB to gear up. Bro. Alright, that had to be awful. Yeah, we did not beat that. Boys, I guess we're learning drag racing right now. That's crazy. Alright, hang on. Let's see if we could engineer this. Oh, we got another shot. Alright, one more tires up to the green zone. Okay, step on the gas on green lights. Oh. Damn. We suck at this. Do we get... Oh, run 3. Oh, there's nitro. I always forget about nitro. This has got to be pretty fast. It wasn't clean. Ah, still not fast enough. Shift in the green zone. Okay. I didn't know if I should shift too early. Gear shift bad. Shift in green and NOS early. Okay. Retry this. Today is National Pastries Day. Alright. Run 1. Oh, we kind of lost some revs there as the boost came out. Yeah! We did it! Yeah, this car is definitely got to be rear-wheel drive. All right, I guess we got to do 2 more runs. See if this is still 12. Oh! 11-7 that time. We're getting better. If I could buy one classic muscle car, 69 Camaro build, super like resto mod. Yeah. I'd go crazy with that. I would consider a Gen 1 NSX. They are super expensive, so have to be a different time and place from now. But I would not consider owning a Veneno because, yeah, to me that's a glorious Aventador. And yeah, I mean the presence and the rarity and all this stuff, it's crazy cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd probably leap and run after a Veneno if I saw it, but would I choose to spend my money on that even if I had like all the money in the world? Probably not. I'd probably just have an SVJ, call that a day, and try out other hypercars that are more unique to their own, like a Zonda or an Agera. Looking at buying an S14 shell, would you say that you enjoyed your S14 when I had it? I enjoyed it because I drifted it, and it just being an older car and being SR20 powered and stuff. Like, I mean, I went through an entire SR20, and there was always a lot of maintenance and stuff that needed dealt with, aside from the moments when it got crashed. And so, I mean, as a chassis, yeah, all the way. If you're buying a shell, I mean, you could do whatever you want with it. And I mean, S14's awesome, especially you can make them look really gangster. So if you want to buy a shell, I mean, yeah, I'd definitely say go for it, but it's up to you on what you want to put in that. Because I would say, honestly, there's a big pro on just having KA, being the NA. Like, even though it won't be that powerful and it might seem sluggish, it'll at least be, like, reliable. Or you could put, like, maybe try freaking Honda motor swapping it, or you could always put an LS in there, although I think, like, at that point, why even get an S14 shell, because that kind of takes away from the style. I'm not against V8 LS powered drift cars. I actually want one, but if I'm gonna buy one, I'll just buy a car that kind of already embodies that, like a C6 or a Camaro, just because I chose to drive and drift an S14, and I had style points on the side of it because I really was trying to promote and trying to be one for the style, because that's what drifting really is all about. And part of that style to me is the motor and the sound that comes out of the car. To me, it just sounds so much more appropriate, and it's just better to the ears. Like, I mean, you go to any drift event and all the noises of the LS sounds, they really start to get old real fast. And so I was an advocate for that style, and I think having the appropriate motor in your S chassis really is a part of that. But I'm not like totally against having an LS powered drift car, but it would be more stylish to itself if I feel like if it was appropriate, right? If it was a C6 or Cadillac or who knows what. All right, we're in the Evo now. When are we gonna get in the Supra, guys? The lighting in this track is crazy. We're in a freaking neon Japanese wonderland. Wait, so what car has a KA from the factory? 240 SXs. So an S13 and an S14. And 240SXs is technically the model name for it. And so the ones that were sold here in the US had the KA. The KA is the US motor for the Nissan S13 and S14. In Japan, the S13 and the S14 got the SR20, and the model name of those cars are called the 180SX. I've actually made an entire diagram that clearly showcases differences between 240 and 180, or 240 and Silvia. 180s are also known as Silvias. And then also Kuki versus Zenki. And there's a whole ton of like, yeah, it's all. I could go on. This really works out as a Q&A format because my driving just sucks. Like, man, if you're out here for like satisfying skilled driving, this is not the live stream for y'all.
Precisely.
Get a little drift in there. What are my thoughts on the F80? Oh, I got a take for that. My take is honestly, F80 kids, they're kind of like the Hellcat kids, just in a different breed. Like, they're similar. And I guess what I mean by that is that I feel like there's a surface levelness to it of people that own those cars that are kind of in them because of just for only just like trying to, I guess, be cooler or be more like a hot shot and just, I don't know, maybe even get girls. I don't know. I mean, it'll seem to do that because it seems like a lot of girls these days are actually into BMWs, but they're just based on what you'll see out and about the F80 community. I think the community has really ruined the car for me. And on an objective note, they sound like trash, but they look beautiful. They are fast. They are incredibly good for the money. They're pretty cheap now. And it's a pretty modern German luxury car that's fast, that's great handling, that looks beautiful. So I get it. But they don't sound that good, and I'm a huge sound guy, so that already like kind of deters me. And yeah, the community has kind of just like ruined that car for me in a lot of ways because I guess it's been really overdone. You're kind of cookie cutter in that. And I mean, I know I've had a lot of fair share of pretty mainstream cars, but I see they're kind of everywhere now. I've driven about the Huracan, the R8. What's the difference? The Huracan is it's definitely a little more, it feels a little more stiff, a little more raw. The Huracans, when you shift, you get a little pulse in between. You get a little bump in Corsa. The R8s, you don't get any like shift feel at all in the DCT, which is good and bad. It fits the characteristic of the car. If you're an older guy, especially if you wanted to drive it in automatic mode all the time, like, it's probably one of the smoothest DCTs aside from like a PDK or whatever. But if you want to like really get down into some enthusiast crazy driving in an R8, yeah, it kind of lacks the drama and the characteristic a little bit because, yeah, when you shift, you don't feel anything at all. It's almost like an electric car. You just don't feel, it's so, yeah, just nothing. Huracans, you get a little bit of a Corsa bump. Car feels just a little more, I'm lacking the terminology here, but yeah, just a little more aggressive. And then the biggest thing to me that I notice when I'm sitting inside a Huracan versus an R8 is just the cabin is just so much more sleeker. You got that more fighter jet-esque-ness of the Lamborghinis, the newer ones. Whereas an R8 is very much this more techie, gadgety German car. Very nice interior, though. It's just kind of a different, like, style. They're both, like, really great quality interiors.
All right, driver. This is the final
I think,
race.
yeah, I just think an R8 has always been
Guys ready?
so good for the money, though. If we're talking Gen 2, so if we're talking like 2017 R8 versus 2017 Huracan, R8 will cost you 130 on average or so, maybe non-plus or whatnot. Huracans, though, is you know, it's tough to find one for under 180, 170.
True, didn't get bored, not even once.
It used to be worse. Huracans used to only like be like 250, and you couldn't find anything below that. But yeah, so it's kind of all about how much you're willing to spend. But for me, I know one of my dream Lambos is a Huracan Performante. I think that's probably one of the best well-rounded Lamborghinis, like, period. I'm sure a lot of people probably prefer the STO, but it's a price difference, right? The STO is like I want to say like a $400,000 car, and the Performante is maybe you can find one for under 300. You'd be lucky. Yeah, like 290 maybe. It's still expensive, but I've always preferred the looks of the Performante. And the STO is like full race car. Performante, you could at least probably like road trip a lot more comfortably.
Pumped up Toyota Supra 880. Solid choice.
Couldn't be more appropriate, actually. The Supra was
If I were to sell one of my cars, what would I sell? That's a good question. I would say here that the S2000 is probably the next car to go. I don't know when. I want to hold on to it for as long as I can right now because I love it. And yeah, it really doesn't cost me that much to maintain or to own. And yeah, it's just super fun and it just works. Always can count on it. And it is my most fuel economic car right now. Best gas MPG out of any of my cars I own. So probably saves me money actually in that regard. But I'd sell it just because it is probably like the Skyline I have that personal connection to. The Porsche is the most recent thing and I love it to death. And the Exorcist, I also love that to death. And of course Mercy is, you know, forever car. And then the truck is just, it's a truck. It's different. But that's 2000. I really got to kind of have my first convertible. And we've now kind of gotten to really like explore that and enjoy that. And so now there's still a solid chunk of change, you know, in that car, like, you know, at least over 25K worth that, you know, would be good to use on whatever the next thing could be. And so, yeah, whenever there will probably be a day, I will warn you guys here now. Thank you for watching the R32 content. I really want that video that I just posted on the main channel to really do well. We put in a lot. I want to say just as far as I think there's a lot of good funny bits in it. It's just a solid time that we're having. But then I also tie in our whole day at Feel Fest into it as well. And so based on I mean, you know, everybody, you talk to any YouTuber that has done this for as long as I have, everyone probably actually studies things. they look into the patterns, they do their research, they look at their analytics. And what I studied is things that are on the kind of like on that are titled like what it's actually like to own a JDM car, especially like here in America. Things of that nature do really well. My past viral successes have been taking that Skyline to high school, have been taking that Skyline reverse through a drive-through, and I made a video a long time ago called what it's like to daily in R32 or Skyline GTR, and that video also did pretty good. And so I've learned from the performance of videos that the trend of kind of people are curious on a like what the reality of something like that's JDM or Skyline GTR is kind of like. And I've done a video a long time ago when I first got my car, when it was all stancy. It was like what it's like to actually own a JDM car or something like that. And honestly, I don't think I really covered that much in that video. I think it was mainly about the car show I was at. But in this video, we play a lot more into not only what it's like to have a JDM car, but especially like specifically owning one in the US. And so I think with the patterns that have gone about on the channel, I think there's a solid chance for hopefully this video to do well, and I really wanted to. I spent a lot trying to make sure it's perfected to my liking. So go check it out if you guys haven't yet. It's really worth the watch.
We've got one last surprise for you, driver. Let's head back to the container.
I would love to come to Australia, but I think I would have to have I have to find myself in Australia for other reasons than specifically just one vlog, but then I could make a vlog about it. Does that make sense? It'd be like a company is willing to have me out there, or it's like I want to travel to Australia just for my own life and like explore it and go on vacation. But while I'm there, I can make a video. Not so much like, hey, I'm going to go spend $2,000 just to go to there to make a vlog, and then that vlog is gonna make me like $300. Like the math ain't gonna math out for that one. So would I buy a BMW? So that's a funny thing. I don't know if I've really publicly ever said this in many videos, but I've actually kind of made it my almost internal bucket list to see how long I could go without ever owning a BMW, just because I've been around them like almost my whole all these past years. All my buddies, all the buddies in Seattle, people down here, people everywhere, I'm always surrounded by BMWs. I could dish out. I know the lore without ever owning one, okay? I know about N55s and N54s. I know about freaking S85s, S65s, and S58s. Okay? I know the S54s and the E46 M3. I know this stuff. I know about freaking LCIs and rod bearings. Now, I've also seen the bad. When you're around a lot of people that have owned them, you've learned that BMWs break a lot, and that was specifically the case for a BMW that I have purchased but not owned. And those of you that watch the main channel that have kept up may or may not know what I'm talking about. But I bought Who's Nasty Fox. I surprised him with the 335. That's his car that he still has. And we surprised him. We got that car, solid deal, and it was a solid car for the time being. But then eventually, there were a couple issues that started to creep up. Now keep in mind, I tried to really find a decent pick of the litter, okay? Like, what I really knew was crucial when it comes to a 335, an N55 car, is that it wasn't modified. Because if it's modified, that means you know some kid has been beating the crap out of it. And this car had... It either just rolled over 100k miles or was just shy under when we got it, but it was all bone stock. And it had been to the East Coast on its history. And so that is sometimes a red flag because, yeah, there's rust and there's a couple things and corrosion and stuff. But other than that, the owner was like an older fellow. It was bone stock, and it was just a really clean example of a car. And it was for a good price. So, I don't really think that there's any way I would have redone it as far as like trying to find a better specific car. I think that it just became proof that if you buy a cheaper BMW, stuff is inevitably going to happen. But when it does, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, there was a point in time where we were trying to troubleshoot this car just simply not having power because like the battery, it wasn't a battery issue. It was some sort of electrical issue. And all like we couldn't even reach out to local buddies in the area and stuff. So we took it to BMW, and they charged us $700, $800 just to look at the thing, and they did nothing. Like they said that they did something. We picked it up, literally sitting in the BMW like pickup bay. It wouldn't start. and they had to jump us, and then we had to limp it back. They wouldn't take it back. It was just a mess. It was just like, and that's like $800. That's so expensive just to have nothing done. Just for being, and so obviously there's a lot of people that can look at and troubleshoot these cars without you having to spend. I would never recommend going to a dealership in that scenario. But I also think that a lot of my viewers, oh yeah, Cam fixed it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Cam's here. Yeah, he is the one that actually fixed it. I think a lot of my viewers don't realize or don't have the connections that someone like me or a lot of, or like people that we do on people like Cam that's in the chat that are mechanically inclined to work on these cars. So a lot of my viewer base, I could very easily see if they got into a car like a 335 having to go to the dealership because they just don't know what else to do. And that's going to cost a lot down the line. So circling all the way back to the original topic on would I have a BMW?
Tell me, how would you like to go for another?
I've been around them for so long, and then Dustin's car was a very first-hand experience with it, and so and the fact that the hype for them has been growing like crazy. Like BMWs are everywhere, and so it's almost my own like. I'm trying to be like the hipster. I'm trying to like not follow the trend. I'm trying to like, yeah, I know it's so funny, Cam. You're in here at the perfect time. I'm trying to see what I can do to like not be the trend hopper on that, and that's part of I think my mental inclination. But at the same time, there very well could be a BMW that can fall in my hands someday. I do like there's a lot of them that I've had enjoyable experiences with. When 335s work well, they are really fun cars. The manual M2s, the manual E46 M3s. There are a lot of good BMW options out there. So, dude, this playlist is long. I wonder where they get their stock footage from. I think we're on a break from 240s. He asked if I could go back to one. I love S chassis, but my kind of like my itch for the enjoyment of having an S chassis is very much fulfilled by the Skyline. They're very similar. They're both, cultured Japanese classics. You could technically drift the Skyline too if you wanted. And I also think that if I were to get back into drifting, it wouldn't be in a 240. Yeah, I would probably want like a C6 Corvette, or just something a little more reliable than my S14 was. Oh my gosh, we did all these playlists and now we have Made in Japan Volume 2 on Maui. Well, we'll keep the stream going. I'm running out of voice. Because my voice was gone in, you guys watched the roll racing video. My voice was recovering in that video, and it's been recovering ever since. And now realizing, I don't know how freaking... I mean, not only how streamers do it, but podcasters. They just gotta be sitting down. They just be talking for like 4 hours straight. You don't appreciate your voice until it like actually starts like disappearing. And then it got me thinking on like all these things that like... Obviously, like musicians and singers and stuff, they're the ones that are maximizing the usage out of their voice the most. But isn't it crazy how like we could just like literally talk for like 6 hours straight and you could like withhold your voice if you're not sick, if your throat isn't sore? Alright, well luckily we're right over here in Maui. We didn't have to go very far. What would I rate the 720S? I love the 720S. That's up there for a car that I want. I've had a couple experiences in them, and it's just, I have an itch for spaceships, all right? To me, to me, if you're going to buy a supercar, you want it to feel like you're hopping inside of an F-22 Raptor when you get inside of that thing. I mean, a 720 does that really well. Freaking giant doors, the seating layout, the front windshield comes really far down, so you have really great front visibility. And just the cabin design is I don't know, it's really wild. And then the way that it drives, it's so light. It's got a carbon tub, so it's got great structural rigidity. It's rear-wheel drive, so the rotation, the way it goes around corners is beautiful. And then the way that it shifts, it just has these like pulsing shifts that are just so freaking, they're so satisfying to not only downshift but also upshift. You could also, if you have like a crazy exhaust or whatever and a tune, you could upshift pop and it'll just be a gunshot on like every shift. They are amazing creatures, the 720S. And I say 720S specifically because you could get one used. They've depreciated a lot. This is obviously the supercar world we're going to be talking about, so, you know, you got to bear with me here. But you could get them for sub 200 grand. And all my life, 720s were always like a 400K plus car. That's a big depreciation. I mean, 720s are literally like the same price as Huracans now. And like once upon a time, to me, a 720 was a much bigger dog in the scene than a Huracan. And so, yeah, love it, want one. But here's the bad, okay? The bad is that they have a lot of bugs. They have a lot of issues. Believe me, from being someone that is like heard firsthand from a lot of people or other people that have heard from a lot of other owners that have gone on rally, like people, I've talked to people on that run rallies, and they say the McLarens are always the ones that break down on supercar rallies all the time. And so the issue is that these cars can blow up because everyone overtunes them and over modifies them, overbuilds them. So these things, people blow their motors because they're pushing like, you know, over 1,000 horsepower. It doesn't need to be or whatever on like a 720S. But, and that's not my worry, because I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I probably wouldn't even tune it just for that risk. The reason why they blow up so easily when people tune them is that McLarens are built to be super lightweight, and so they use their block, and the engine itself, you know, it's not as strong as others are, and also they're already pretty heavily tuned from factory, meaning that some cars, they come out like certain Japanese legends or certain like Mercedes and other cars, all these things they're very detuned out of the box. But to my knowledge, McLarens are actually like pretty up there. They're pretty high tuned, like freaking tuned up from factory, and so there's not much more room you can tune it afterward. And so that's, if you're gonna freaking slap on, you know, if you're gonna try and overtune it with, you know, try and make more power than it was designed for, then yeah, it's gonna blow up. Now, that's not my worry because, well, I was just going to say, I'm not going to do that. But my worry is all the little things. These cars have a ton of little electronic bugs and malfunctions. Like, your window won't roll up. Or freaking your power steering won't stop whining. Every McLaren 720, if you ever hear it at a supercar meet, every time they roll in, you always hear a little whine coming out of the front. It's the power steering whine. There's all these chimes, there's all these errors that the car is gonna bug you about that you won't know and you won't know how to clear. Reasoning behind this is because McLaren infrastructure isn't as big as a car like an R8 or a Huracan. Because if you think about a Huracan, it is part of, it's like an Audi, but an Audi is also like a Volkswagen. It's under the Volkswagen family. The Volkswagen has had decades, years, freaking a lifetime of infrastructure to develop their electronics, to develop their cars properly, to work out their bugs. And when Lamborghini is owned under them, they could just take Volkswagen's tech, and you know, and then the car will be solid. McLaren doesn't have this because they're their own thing. They're new to the game. They're fairly recent into here, and so that's why they have a lot of little bugs. Same could be said for Lotuses and other smaller manufacturer cars. And that is my long take on the 720S, because I've done some research on this thing, and if I were to ever be faced with getting one, yeah, I'd be kind of conflicted on if I'd want to deal with kind of the issues that it could come with, versus dealing with but also with how much I want the car, because it's such a good car and stuff. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who has a Murcielago, which, you know, has every reason to actually be less reliable than a 720, so, yeah. We chose our risk.
Too late. I called dibs.
Okay, so okay, never mind.
Would I wrap the Mercy? Yeah, someday. The thing is that the orange that it's in is just so beautiful. I mean, you guys see it in person in the sunlight. It is juicy. The heck is this thing game nagging me about? It is an insane color, and it's a color that also, like, yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason why someone would spend extra for it. But I also understand that change is sometimes fun. So yeah, I would consider now. Yeah, the other thing though is that my interior is orange. Okay, my interior is as orange as can get, half orange, half yellow, sun fade, and so whatever I wrap it, it would have to be a color that complements the interior or works with that. So that rules out a lot. That rules out like red or green or blue or yellow. It'd probably be just a non-saturated color. So it'd probably be like a gray, like a Grigio Telesto wrap, like a Nardo, or white. I mean, white could work with an orange interior, like a pearl white wrap. That'd be really cool, because Mercies look so beautiful in balloon white.
Okay, guys, it's just the three of us here, and we're facing the first of our
For 20 grand or below, yeah, manual Civic Si, man. Like, I get it, they're front-wheel drive, what can you do? But, like, come on. Like, this is coming from a guy that has, like, guns blazing, rear-wheel drive Camaro that could just lay down some 11s. This is like, dude, you don't, like, I'm not out here, like, drifting stuff that often. And you could still toge and rip around in a front-wheel drive car like that. But under 20K Civic Si, you can maybe find. Nah, I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, you could maybe find an S2000 for under that. You could probably. You could, to the topic of what we were saying earlier, you could definitely get yourself into a 335 BMW, and it could be a nice one. You could probably get an F platform BMW too, a newer one. Although I don't know how. That's all on preference. But I guess my thinking with that, because I wouldn't recommend necessarily the BMW route if, you know, just for people's wallet sanity here. But if the budget is 20K, you could probably get a pretty real nice 335. Obviously, it's going to be used still, and it's going to be a lot older. We're talking like, you know, 2012, 2013.
You're driving my car's older sister tonight, the Mazda RX.
I just drove straight into this thing. I was looking at the chat.
10th anniversary edition.
What
classic American car?
That's right. This very model is extra special. It's the monochromatic crystal white edition.
I mean, classic. I mean, I feel like there's no classic you could buy for under 20K, right? Because that's almost like that's an oxymoron. Like that's like something that doesn't exist. Classic American for under 20. Because like what comes to mind is like there's some like decent Mustangs out there. I don't know if there's not really a Camaro that I could recommend for under 20, because the cheapest Camaro I would recommend is a manual 6th gen SS, and those are still like 30, because the 5th gens I feel like I mean, yeah, you can get a manual 5th gen SS and make it pretty cool, but I mean, man, those interiors are a lot more dated than the 6th gen. But with that said, any Mustang for under 20 is also going to have a pretty outdated interior. Yeah, you get a nice E30 for 20 grand, I imagine. I mean, I know E30s have gone up, but if it's not an M3, like, I feel like you get a super nice E30. Fox body would be cool. 1999 Viper.
Taking the lead.
I wouldn't recommend a 1999 Viper for under 20. Like, that'd be a cool car to, like, have in your garage of other cars, because that thing's, not only is it a death trap, it's just, like, so bare bones. Those things don't even have roofs, guys. They're literally a convertible without a roof.
But the next round is about to start. Ren and I will be waiting for you.
You're teaming up with the adults this time.
Well, is this what we're doing now? You guys talk and I... Alright, that's cool. I'm nothing if not adaptable. It's time for another round. The pack versus the quick whiskers.
20k Viper would be salvage title. Yeah, probably. I like old muscle. I don't get that many opportunities to experience them. I think honestly the closest thing to an old muscle car I ever got to really rip around in was a C3 Corvette. It had an LT1 that was making like 500 horsepower. And it had like cage harness. Like, it was scary. No freaking traction control, no assist, no nothing. It was a blast. But that's still kind of like a resto mod, because that still doesn't have like the original engine and all that kind of stuff. I really want to drive like a true like 69 Camaro, or like, you know, an older Gen 1 Mustang, or something of that nature. Kind of learn what those are all really about. I think the sad thing is, if I were to try and get like a classic American muscle car for like something like YouTube content, I don't think my audience would just be very interested. It's kind of a battle of, I guess, like, are you trying to advocate for something regardless of how much success you get out of it, or are you gonna, or like what's actually worth doing if it's not going to be successful? Because I think there's every incentive for me to probably do a build like that, because they are a dying thing of our generation. Like, a lot of these kids these days are not getting into these classic American muscle cars, and all these guys that maintain them and that like keep them relevant are gonna soon pass away. And it's just like, what is gonna happen to all these? It's a whole generation genre of car, because like kids these days, if it's gonna be classic, they're into stuff like E30s or Skylines or Porsches. But it's pretty rare, and this is coming from someone who's now in Arizona, where there's a lot more American muscle down here, where there's young kids that are like into classic American muscle cars. Another part of that issue is that they are super expensive. The motors, the actual price values of these cars too. I think some quality classic American muscle can very easily be a lot more expensive than that of like an E30. So, you know, kids can't even just get themselves into them if they wanted to. And so, yeah, I guess, would it be morally righteous to then have a young fan base demographic and do a classic American muscle build to kind of advocate for keeping them relevant and introducing people into them? Yeah, that'd be great. But also, like, I gotta do things that at least have some sort of advantage of at least, like, you know, possibly being successful. At the end of the day, a lot of it can be a business, so that's kind of, yeah, I guess that's just me thinking out loud on that. Do we even get Ford Escorts here? I don't even. I don't know when the last time I've ever seen a Ford Escort is. Oh, we're crashing again because we're reading chat. I'm glad we didn't change the difficulty, because I could literally like be distracted driving. Show the youngins what they missing. Yeah. Man, I'm awful at this. Yes, it rewinds their cars too. No. No, bro. Bro, this is embarrassing.
Excellent job, my friend. That second victory clearly sends a message.
Alright, your M2CS, which would have an S55 in it,
think so.
has active AutoWorks mid-pipes and exhaust, and it sounds amazing. 6-speed manual, that's nice. 500 wheel horsepower, that's nice. I don't know, that's kind of like that's one of my change my minds. Like, I should go sit out on a bench and just hold up a sign that says S55s don't sound good, change my mind, because unless you single turbo it, or I'd have to, I honestly, I don't know what the active AutoWorks mid-pipes, like what your setup exactly sounds like, so yeah, I'd have to sound it, but trust me, man, I've heard so many awful sounding ones that is just, it has been concrete in my head that is just overall, the majority has spoken. It's like a 350Z. I could tell you that with the right setup, with a turbo, or with a crazy certain setup, header, exhaust, or whatever, you can make a VQ sound good.
Guys did great against the
Do people
starters.
take that opinion? Nope, it's because the majority wins. Because the majority of 99% of all 350Zs sound terrible.
Is this what we're doing?
And so,
You guys talk about
majority just kind of rules in this scenario. But it's also because, like, I mean, obviously, yeah, if a car, like, truly just needs one thing to sound good and no one does it ever, then yeah, no, it's not worth it to really just, like, root it out, like, at all. But cars like the F80 and 350Zs and stuff of that nature, they're very hard. They're actually very difficult to actually get sounding good and really right. And so, you know, if it's going to be that hard to make a car sound good, then frankly, I'm sorry, it's just kind of like in the club of cars that don't. In my head, that's just how I look at it. Whereas like a 2JZ in this thing, dude, you could have any exhaust setup in the world. This thing just screams. She sings. You don't need to do anything. Are we done with our races here? Wait, we have more. I think we just might have exited. I'm going until... When did I start this? 117 minutes ago? Okay, we're actually coming up on 2 hours. I'm going until my voice is going to cut out. Because it feels like it's about to.
It's time for another round. The pack versus the quick whiskers.
Asking someone who has a 32, what exhaust do you have? Because one day I want to build a wide and wide 32, making around 450. Well, so if you have twins, if you're making around 450, like, it probably would actually make a lot of sense to be single turbo, which already, same thing like the F80s, actually. Skylines instantly sound, it's hard to screw up a single turbo sounding RB26. So, I mean, if you have single turbo, I can't really help you there because my car just isn't, so I have a different setup for that. But if you have twins, I have the titanium Mines equal length downpipe into a full Tomei Extreme TI titanium, and then I also have a cat delete Tomei pipe in there as well. And those are the three components. It's the Mines downpipe, the Tomei cat delete pipe, and then the full Tomei titanium exhaust that has mine sounding like it does. And I remember doing so much research back in the day before I got it. I patiently waited the 4 months for the Mines pipe to come in from Japan. I paid a dude or like found a dude off Facebook or somewhere in the country to get specifically that Tomei exhaust, because I guess Tomei didn't have it in stock at the time. So had to find someone specifically selling it in the country. And yeah, I jumped through hoops, make sure to get the dream setup, and it's always been, I mean, that's the sound of that car that really does it for me. I love it.
In person on our frequency. Well, take a head start, kitty cat. You're gonna need it.
I would not get a wide body on my Lambo. Not on this one, man. Just cause it's already a wide car. It's funny because I think the GT1 race cars, you actually like what DDE did on their GT1 conversion. You only do the front fenders. I don't even think you widen the rear because it's already like it's a staggeredly wide car. But my car barely already fits in the trailers. It barely fits on the my trailer. I have to take the trailer wheel cover off. Thankfully it allows me to do that, but it gives me more clearance, and then I could barely, with like centimeters to spare, I could fit my car on the flatbed. And so if you wide body, it opens up a whole can of worms from all the transporting, all that kind of stuff. But it's just also, yeah, I mean, it's already just a crazy Mercy. Like, it's just, yeah, it's funny because I've still to this day never done a wide body, and that's not on purpose. Like, I think, you know, I would love to like share how I would execute a wide body build of some sort, because I'm not against them entirely, but definitely not on a Mercy. Not on a Mercy, not on a ZL1, not on my Skyline. Yeah, not on a lot of cars. Not on any current car I own.
Kids these days.
Bro, homie is spamming BMW or Mercedes, but there's just no clear answer to that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's kind of like, you could just,
Yeah, it's a miracle.
there's a ton of different BMWs that you could ride. There's certain times where I'll pick a BMW. There's certain times where I'll take a Mercedes. When I had TEs, they were 18s. I've always ran 18s on my Skyline, if that's what you're referring to. My experiences with the manual Mercy have been surreal. I actually forget that it has been done. If you guys don't know the storyline, EAG in Texas converted my Murcielago to manual, and then it was supposed to maybe be in the SEMA show, but they couldn't get it done in time, and so I met them out at SEMA, and they still brought the car into Vegas, and we drove it around Vegas for its first drives, and it was phenomenal. My biggest issue with that car is because it's a single clutch, big race clutch E-gear, and it's automatic. You don't have control over that. It's very clunky, it's very lurchy, and also, like, you know, every time you're roasting that clutch out at parking lots and stuff, like, you know, you're that much closer to eventually having to do your clutch service bill, which is going to cost $15,000 to lower the motor and all that kind of stuff. So with it being manual, it's just crazy. Like, I have control over every little thing the clutch does. I have full control over the engagement. And that makes a huge difference. And that is that little bit right there. Like, simply, if I'm at a gas station and just slowly releasing the clutch from a clutch pedal, it's the act of that is my highlight of the manual swap. Now, of course, getting to freaking shift through a gated shifter like that also is euphoric. And getting to like blip a downshift and all those things. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's going to do good things to the value of the car and stuff of that nature. But yeah, for me, it's really having control over the clutch. And so the car, it did go back to EAG back in Texas because there were a couple things we figured out that were a little, that could be improved. The pedal area space. You imagine if you have an automatic car with two pedals and you squeeze a third in there all of a sudden, it may not be designed for that. And so the dead pedal onto the side really limits my foot area space I have down there. And so they're going to improve that and shorten the dead pedal. Also, they have a new shifter that they're going to add in that's just slightly taller, more correct to the factory size. And so I haven't been around the car since SEMA, so I miss it a lot. And yeah. How many miles does it have? I got the car at 18,000 miles. and I believe it has like 23,000 miles now or whatever. We've already put like 5,000 miles on it.
What were these cats thinking coming after us?
Still remarkably low, but yeah.
Anyway, we're taking a break,
But what's
so
funny
let's step away from the street
is that
gallery for a
mileage
moment and quality drift
does not equal.
Our playground-
Mileage doesn't all of a sudden mean that your car is gonna work, you know,
Evo 6.
phenomenally forever, because age comes in. And yeah, we somehow already blew the front diff with only like 23,000 miles on the car. But yeah, that already like went out, and that just goes to show that, I mean, it's mainly because obviously, yeah, I mean, the diff fluid probably never got done in time. But also, yeah, it's just, you know, it is an old car. It's over 15 years old. But yeah, it goes to show
I told you last time that drifting
Age
was banned in
can-
Japan, but
age can also
I
be a
didn't tell
thing.
you who ignited the spark. Well, two names, Takahashi and Tsuchiya, respectively named the father of
I'd say I
drifting
prefer
and
stick in
the
most
drift king,
cases.
no less.
I never really thought I'd be this big of a manual guy, but
Oversteering was a mistake to correct.
like even a
These
car
days, it became
like a
special
Mercy
technique
to
carry
me,
more speed through the corners and have fun
the
doing so.
character of it,
They're my role models.
paddles can fit the character of the car. There's a lot of scenarios where paddles just simply like, I don't really agree with how it fits with the characteristics of a car. American muscle cars, to me, I think just the characteristics of them kind of, I feel like, align with a manual transmission. The characteristics of a 350Z also align with the manual transmission. But a lot of exotic cars, because especially from their era, the transmissions were called F1 because they were literally inspired. A lot of the car's engineering was inspired by F1 performance. That's where you got the paddles in, and that's where it fits the characteristics. But of course, in the Mercy, yeah, all my reasonings for wanting to get it swapped and everything is all like maintenance related, long-term longevity of reliability and clutch jobs and stuff. My favorite sounding car is probably the LP640. Or actually, sorry, Carrera GT. There's two types of people in this world. There are people that believe that there are people that believe that the Carrera GT
No one's gonna push me this
is the best sounding car in the world, and then there are people that are wrong. And
time. Alright, back to normal. So,
yeah,
Number six.
I've always been a Carrera GT over LFA guy.
For the next round,
The
it's gonna be
LFA
you and Toji
is
versus
perfectly
some other street
tuned and
racer.
sounds brilliant,
I'm taking the
but
lead this time.
something
Don't
about
worry,
that
he's not
car,
really leading anything. He
the
just
sound
says
is,
stuff.
it's always felt a little more artificial. If anything, it actually make a lot of sense because like Yamaha did all this like, you know, tuning implementation of it,
alright.
and whereas the Carrera GT just has this like raw V10 output that is just naturally just like seems to sound, I don't know. I don't know if I even know what I'm talking about, but one thing I do know for sure is that the CGT is manual, and just the way that it revs, the way that its throttle just blips up and how it revs around, I think it just sounds heavenly. Whereas since the LFA is a single clutch car, I'm pretty sure, I feel like the upshifts like aren't as satisfying as like someone just manually going through a CGT and upshifting it. But yeah, straight pipe CGTs will have my heart all day long. I like the Revuelto, and I think the best sounding Revuelto out right now is the Secret Weapon exhaust out of Brazil. Somewhere in South America. Gintani's screams, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have the F1 pitch like the Secret Weapon does. Just look that up. Thank me later.
Bite me, Hello Kitty. Can you believe these jackasses? They kind of remind me of someone.
How did we get here in a 3000 GT? I didn't even realize this was in the game. That's crazy. It's so crazy how the map just transforms when driving around the streets of like we're still on the island of Maui.
good, friend? We got you yet another car from the JDM Golden Era.
I'm not sure how well the live stream can process. I don't know what the quality is, but I feel like it can't be that crazy because there's just so much going on screen for it to render out. And obviously, like, I can only have such an output, but I feel like these maps are just so cluttered with so much going on that from a streaming perspective, it's hard for it to render out. Now, if you guys go in, click the link, and play your free 5 hours, or you just help us get some kilometers, it's a magical experience. There's a lot of colors. There's a lot of action. I know there is so much in-game yapping. I actually didn't know when I tested the stream or when I started it how much game audio you guys can hear, but that seems to answer that question.
These damn cats are tough.
Yeah, with these guys, I think we gotta switch from a Hashiria to a Bosuzoku state of mind.
Okay, meaning?
We go rough, brother.
Yes. Real Twisty knows what's up. I didn't want to just... like, there's a long list of cars that I think are some of the best sounding cars in the world. Zondas, 812s with Novatec exhaust, F12s with Novatec exhaust. But my... oh my god.
It's like it never happened.
My underrated contender is the first gen 5.0 Gallardo. I think it's underrated to the point where people don't even realize... people glaze the LFA so hard that they don't realize that there's another car that is so close to sounding as good as that you could get for an eighth of the price. But yeah, the 5.0, the Gallardo, for those of you who don't know, it's an even firing V10. It has a different crankshaft than the 5.2, and you can't just simply swap in the crankshaft of the 5.0 into 5.2 motors. The 5.2 is in the R8s, it's in the Huracan, it's in the second generation Gallardo. You can't just simply swap in the crankshaft of the 5.0 into the 5.2 motor because the size of the bore, the whole engine, and all this kind of stuff isn't even gonna work. It's not possible. But the 5.0 was... it had its limited time in the first gen Gallardo, the pre-facelift, the pre-LP, and it is one of the best sounding V10s out there with certain exhaust setups, LOC exhaust. F-Spot has a great one on his car. These exhausts, I swear, I want to make a video one of these days. Just having a like not showing the car or just having people close their eyes on the sound of an LFA versus the sound of a Gallardo. It's not identical, but it's very close. That if anything, I think it could fool some people. I really think it could. And I mean, come on, man. Like, I also think the Gallardo has what it needs to be as cool as the LFA. I think obviously the LFA is kind of like Japan's like holy machine. So I get that. If you're a big Toyota guy, if you're a big Japanese car guy, it's kind of like Japan didn't get as many crazy flamboyant cars as Italy did. But if we just compare car to car, a first gen Gallardo you could get in a gated manual. Can't get that in an LFA. And you know, you have the sleek spaceship Lambo design. It's gonna feel as crazy of a car to get in and out of as an LFA is. Arguably crazier because the engine is behind you, whereas the LFA, it's still in front of you. And then of course the whole point of all of this is really that you can get a first gen Gallardo in a gated manual for like, I've seen them as low as 110. Whereas an LFA is freaking, they're like a $700,000, a $700,000, $800,000. It's just absurd. It's ridiculous. I love the LFA, but I think that car peaked at 300 and did not, like, it, that was that.
Go ahead, guys.
I wouldn't pay more. Yes. He says, in my opinion, you can't compare an American V8 to Lamborghini V12 or V10. I 100% agree. Like, it's just entirely different genres. It's like comparing rap to EDM. It's like, it's just like, the sounds are so different, but they're both good in their own different ways. Yeah, and so in those scenarios, I don't really compare them. But I know that I always wanted a screaming V10 or V12 car in my life. There's nothing like when you hear something of that nature, like leaving a car meet or in the distance. It's just, you know, F1 sound, man. There's nothing like it. Whereas American V8, it's a little more, I feel like it's a little more common where you could be in scenarios where you get to hear full bald eagles. But yeah, I don't think they're just two different flavors, man.
These guys are getting hit real hard.
Now, this is interesting, but listen to a built WRX or STI, any box that runs external wastegate. Yes, those sound crazy. I've heard a lot of like those built out. Those sound really good too. I mean, I've heard Lancer clips too, Evos, and yeah, those get freaking. The LFA just took way too long to come out. Technology that was revolutionary in the 2000s was average in the 2010s. Oh yeah, and the R35. Yeah, the R35 ruined that too. So it's funny because you know what the Japanese do? It's a win and a loss, all right? Because you may have never thought of it this way, but the Japanese, they take their time to make something perfect. And there's a lot of great things about that because they make great products. And I think a lot of the reason why their products are so good coming from Toyotas and Hondas and all these all the nature of this is because, yeah, they take extensive time to go through the R&D and the development to make these things perfect. And so when they do come out, they never have issues. They are rarely complained about. They rarely have bugs. They figure out everything about it. So I applaud them for that. Now, issues come in, though, is that when people start to catch wind of things and we know something's coming, but then the Japanese are left in charge, and it's usually, of course, it's usually going to be a sports car, because that's when we're really, like, on the edge of our seats here, you know, and we're waiting on stuff. That's when you run into the LFAs. You run into, remember, the current era Acura NSX. That car was in Super Bowl commercials like 10 years before we actually got it in like 2016. And I'm sure there's a lot of other examples out here. And there's examples of countries that don't do that. I think South Korean cars, they don't take as much time, especially right now. Like the EV trend is going crazy, and they're just doing whatever to just keep up and push out. And Kias and certain cars, they have bugs. Korean cars are not as reliable as Japanese cars. And so yeah, overall there's pros and cons, because I think a very good point that he brought up is that if you take too long, a lot of certain technical aspects of things become outdated by the time of release. And so yeah, the LFA was arguably, there were a lot of aspects. I mean, it became outdated pretty fast. The main thing of its transmission, I would argue. All right, Lunar, if you're truly planning on buying a ZL1 10E, I could give you my opinion. This is my opinion, but this is my very firm opinion, and that is, it is mandatory you got to get it in manual, especially if it's going to be a 1LE. Oh, word, shout out R32 Skyline in the game. But if you're going to get a 1LE trim, the 1LE trim is obviously the track trim. It's got, you know, the better wheels. It's got all the aero. It's got, you know, not slotted rotors. It's got, I believe, a lap timer, like all these things. And just as a more driver's car that it is, especially with aero, right? Aero's going to get in the way of going in fast in a straight line. you might as well get the manual so that you could have a more, you know, just enjoy it for spirited driving. If you were to get an automatic Camaro, it makes more sense to get the non-1LE because it doesn't have the big wing. It doesn't have all the aero holding it down. And the pros of having an automatic Camaro is that it is faster. It's a 10-speed, so with more gears, obviously it has a longer final drive, but it also just, you can ramp up those gears a lot quicker. But I'm a very manual, patriotic guy, especially when it comes to my American muscle. So of course, I would say get a ZL1 1LE in manual. Ross Crash Stain over here says it only came in manual, but that's not true. The 2018s, my year, with the not Sketcher taillights, those only came in manual. But the 2019s and onwards offered automatics, and I believe actually more of them got spec'd out in autos as soon as they became available. The manuals were kind of a dying breed in the ZL1s, even in 1LE form. And the Exorcist package, it's all about how much money you got, you know? You can build up these things for good power for a lot less than what the Exorcist package retails for. But if you want to be a part of the Hennessy, just the Hennessy family, the Hennessy name, and to have that badge of honor on your Camaro, if you want people to question the authenticity of your car that you're driving, because this has never happened to me before, but when I first drove around the Exorcist, I was road tripping it back from Texas. I was at a gas station, and I was inside getting some snacks, and some kid just busts the door open and points me out and goes, "You own that Exorcist?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is it real?" And I was so caught off guard because I've never had the legitimacy questioned of a car that I've owned. And obviously, I guess, you know, a lot of people up badge their Camaros to be like fake Hennessy's or whatnot or whatever. So yeah, like that's something that, I don't know, that's a feeling that, like, as a car guy, I mean, that's just an awesome feeling when someone is just in such shock of what they're spotting and you happen to own it. And that's what you get with the Hennessy, and also you know, the value of the package, it adds into the value of the car. I've seen Exorcists sell, obviously, with, like, you know, these are low mile cars, but I've seen them sell for 6 figures, or close to. So yeah, it's really about how much money you're willing to spend.
You become the king of the mountains, my friend. Incredible race, spectacular driver,
Invincible car.
The Exorcist versus SRT Demon. I'd love to race a Demon and lose, because I would. I think it's already been proven that the Exorcist is slower than a Demon, even in automatic form. And believe me when I say that, because my car is manual, it is a lot slower than the autos are. It's not even close. So yeah, I would lose to a Demon any day. But I'd still love to make it happen.
Saying that even robots can have feelings, stuff like that. Well, I guess we kind of overstepped here.
I definitely want to stream more often. I'm still honored that a lot of you guys are still hanging out with me here, because I love answering these questions and just talking. It's kind of funny because sometimes our buddies in our group are just like, y'all should do a podcast, and it's funny because I guess this is kind of like my outlet for that, because I just get to really just chat and just ramble and rant. But also, like, the idea of doing a podcast someday would be fun too. I just think that I'd have to have the mindset of not really, like, caring about how many people actually tune in. Just because I think if you actually are about podcasting for the business of it and getting views, you have to always have crazy guests on, because what's the reality of why if you guys click on podcasts is you want to hear about the guest, not the host. So if I hosted a podcast, I'm a host, and eventually people are gonna get tired of just hearing what I have to say. And as far as guests go, I mean, I've been able to get to know a lot of people in the industry as you know, as much as I could, but I also feel like, you know, I'm not the most connected guy. I kind of stay in my lane a lot of times. But I'm also just naturally an introvert. So to me, it's like so draining, and I get super anxious just the idea of like, you know, having people that you don't really know very well, and now like having to hold long sit down conversations with them. That would definitely be me signing up for something that's out of my comfort zone. And I think it's good to do that, but that's at least my thoughts on it. But you guys could let me know. I mean, it's funny because yeah, we have we have these conversations about cars and stuff a lot with my friend group, and I think now I am no freaking I'm no critic, I'm no reviewer, and I also lack a lot of vocabulary in a lot of ways. I feel like I gotta read more. That's what I gotta do. But as I've gotten to have a lot of experiences, a lot of fortunate experiences with various automobiles, and also I love watching other car reviewers. I love watching Doug DeMiro and all these people. Like, I get an enjoyment out of at least sharing my experiences of what I've kind of learned up to this point about cars, and trying to now, like, knowing that my audience, you guys, a lot of you guys can be younger. Trying to just share at least like what I believe in, and hope that maybe there could be someone else can take a positive outlook of that. And so that's why I like just talking cars. Now I would say my knowledge on things really kind of stems from, I know the Japanese JDM like tuner side here and there of things. And we've gotten to learn a little more. I'd say I know a decent amount more of modern muscle. Definitely, I know nothing about classic muscle. And then, of course, I keep up with a decent amount of stuff in the exotic car world, which is that's a very like you either do or you don't kind of thing. There's a lot of people I know that they know everything about supercars, and then there's a lot of people that just they don't care for them, and they don't know anything, and they don't really even care too. And that's fine. But I would say that at least like those ends are things that I could probably have more of a say on. Whereas if we start talking about off-road trucks, we start talking about vintage British classics, I'ma be lost. Oh. Oh my. Oh! Okay, that worked. That was sick. If I were to record a vlog with anyone, who would it be? Oh man, that's so good. I would dream to record a vlog with like Jeremy Clarkson or Richard Hammond. Like so legendary that like Matt Armstrong's been able to do that. That would be a dream. Yeah, that'd be a huge dream. It's funny I say that though. I think I would be so nervous because those guys are intimidating, man. I mean, really, any older British lad, you know, they're blunt, they're straight to it. They don't put on a fake face or anything, or you know, play, you know, they're just straight to it. So I would just be so nervous to, you know, if I'm just the way I come off, or if I just, you know, if it just doesn't go well. But that would be epic to have in a vlog.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
Got it, driver? That car's a unicorn.
For the firepower contest, that is the final
What should be my first car? 2018 Honda Civic Type R or 2021 Ford Mustang? That's a good question. Between those two, I haven't had experience in either. So I've never driven an FK8 Type R. I've driven a Dark Horse, but it was the auto.
You got this.
Obviously the go-tos, the obvious statements I could think about. The Civic Type R will probably cost you less to own over time. Get better gas mileage. Shouldn't cause any issues. Has more of an aftermarket, so you could kind of like, I feel like, go a lot crazier. Mustangs, I mean, they do have an aftermarket, but not on the level of like a Type R. He's answering you,
Looks like you guys are free with
dog.
You
But
might
yeah,
as well
that's I don't know, man.
There. See what happens.
Sounds like an invitation, friend.
I'll tell you what, though. Coming from my experience, you can combine both and get a Focus RS. You got a Ford, and it's a peppy little, not even front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, little fun, little peppy car. Because RS literally like freaking competed with Type Rs. I mean, I would say get that. I'd say get that. Literally. That's my biased statement. That's my answer.
There's a reward vehicle waiting for you.
I don't know where Dustin is. He's hanging out. I mean, if you're talking on a literal sense, he moved back out to be with family back over in the middle of the country in Kansas. But right now, he could still be chronically online somewhere. He could be watching the stream. I have no freaking idea. But I'm 99% sure that he doesn't have this game installed. So that's why I didn't consult him for this stream. Automatic Resurrection versus Demon 170. I still got the Demon 170 on the... You had me until it said 170. Like, bro. I think Automatic Resurrection, yeah, that should have the Demon. But, like, Demon 170, I don't think there's anything that beats that, man. That is just... That is an insane vehicle that you could buy from a dealership. 2007 D3 S8 for 10K. I think those things are gonna freaking cause you a lot of trouble. Is that the one that can have a V10 in it? Because I think that's what that is. I once thought about that too. I was like, what if you get an S8 with the V10 from the R8 or the Gallardo or whatever, and then you get some freaking $12,000 Japanese exhaust, make it sound like a Gallardo, but it's like, at the end of the day, like, one, you could probably have a crazier sounding, like, misleading car, like F-Spot's S-Class for, like, a lot cheaper. Some of those old Mercedes with V12s in it, you could definitely make sound a lot crazier for the price than even what it'd cost to buy some freaking 10 grand exhaust and do the header job on a S8. The other thing is that I'm pretty sure the S8s can have some decent... It'll cost you a decent amount down the line. But I mean, hey man, let me know if you do it, because don't get me wrong, that's still a car if I see, I'm like, that's cool. It's one of those cars where it's like, I love it, I appreciate it, and that's a cool car. I just probably wouldn't recommend actually buying one of those, but that's a cool car. As if people are buying them. What do you mean? Are you saying all of them are financed or leased? Because I'll tell you, people that own Demon 170s, I mean, yeah, there's probably a good amount that are financing them or whatever, but like, that's a different baller bracket than your average freaking Hellcat financer. Yeah, the 2000 GT is a gem. I actually don't know much about that car, but I know that that's a unicorn.
I may have overreacted a little, so don't forget, once you've got your reward,
It's really cool looking how
and you'll see a whole
this
new
Supra,
driving-related activity.
this Mark IV, has so many cues from the 2000 GT as well. And I mean, I guess in a legacy that's as crazy as that, the Mark V kind of missed the mark a little bit on that one. Don't get me wrong, I was all for the FT1 concept, but obviously when they had to smush that body into a Z4 platform, the looks definitely, it doesn't come to the level of presence as this Mark IV does, but But no, I like the Mark V. And I understand, and I actually am glad that it has the BMW platform that it's on, because it just allows for it to be a better, well-rounded car. It's also an example of this is how Toyota was able to release that Supra when they did. Because guys, obviously, if we remember what I was saying earlier in this stream about Japanese tending to, you know, take forever on their R&D so that they guarantee a good product, it's awesome, but that meant we probably would have still not had the Mark V. Still probably to now. It'd probably be coming out like next year. And so, and like, yeah, it'd come out with the 3JZ or whatever the hell, you know, it'd come out with its own Toyota engine and all that stuff. That's great, but like, it just would have been too long. And so I think partnering with BMW allowed for, you know, them to make a product in time, and it's a good product because BMW, I guess, had a lot of that R&D already done. Dude, this game makes 100 miles an hour feel. Yeah, it does. It does. I was in a... Dude, I would love to... I mean, when it's daytime again, if I don't forget, I own a hydroplane. I bought a hydroplane. Freaking speedboat. I was driving out in the water, and like, dude, I was like, this does not feel like as fast as it is. Like, you know, these hydroplanes... You see, if you ever been to a hydroplane event in person, those things are crazy. Freaking rooster tailing water, going like who knows what. They're literal death traps as well. But, yeah, in this game, it didn't look that fast. Bro, I got no experience with Hyundai Tiburons. I'm sorry, average guy. Do I think the new C801 could be on par or even be as dominant as the 2017 Viper ACR? That's such a good question. It's gonna be dominant just in different ways, because like the stats are gonna be dominant. Like, this is gonna be a performance figure monster for the price. Obviously, they're gonna be hiked above, you know, freaking MSRP. They probably will be stuck up there for a long time because the C701s have still been like above MSRP and like hiked up forever. But you know, if a day comes that the C801 falls, I think the performance for dollar that you'll be getting in those is absurd. I mean, 1,000 horsepower. Like, what a freaking world we live in. And, yeah. Like, I mean, dare I say it, it's almost like a mini Koenigsegg. Like, think about it. Like, twin-turbo V8 freaking 1,000 horsepower monster. And it's going to cost people, you know, hopefully someday less than 250. And so to that, it's going to lay down a performance figure, you know, a crazy stat that I think people remember. But I think that the ACR is forever just going to be, you know, it's gonna have its place because it's manual, and Vipers are so much more hard to come by than Corvettes. They're so much more rare, and just it's you know, yeah, the V10, all these things. I just think they're kind of slightly different, and already the Viper's, like, we could call it outdated because the C8 just, you know, is gonna probably annihilate it on a lot of the performance ends. So I mean, I'd say this: the guy that's gonna be interested in buying a 2017 Viper ACR probably isn't gonna be the same guy that's looking right now to buy a C8 ZR1. And so because they're different guys, they're going to kind of go down as different cars. And that's kind of just, that's my answer to that. But I guess if it needs to be a yes or no, I'd say that yes, I think the C8 ZR1 has potential to be on Viper ACR status. Yeah, 1,000 horsepower supercars. Like, everyday people, it's just rich kids that have more money than brains, have access to 1,000 horsepower now, and it's crazy. It's ridiculous. So we've come full circle. Ah, so we're back to the Liberty Walk playlist now. Did we do the entire Made in Japan? Alright. Alright. This stream has come full circle, guys.
So like we
We're
said,
doing the
Liberty
same
Walk
race
is
that
going
we
for a
literally
different
did
approach with their performance
when we
line.
first started this.
Top-end vehicle, different treatment. Light tuning, nothing too distorting. Front and side diffusers that widen the body while blending with the lines.
Oh yeah, everyone's... Why does everyone do that on that corner? That's so funny. They go into the grass. They get so... You know, I will say... Like, I find it more difficult to like manhandle these fast cars in this game. Like the reason why I think I suck at this race more than the last ones is because this is a much quicker car. Everything's just so quicker pace. Granted, yeah, I think we got to do something about the speed. Yeah, because I'm supposedly I was going 190 miles an hour, like close to 2. That's just... One, it doesn't feel like that at all, but two, I just also don't even believe that this car would be doing that this fast. Like, we're doing 180 in corners like this. Like, I don't know. Something seems a little incorrect about the speeds. Like, look at 100. Yeah, this. You're telling me this is 190? Okay, now we're flying into that. No, I don't play with the wheel. We do everything with controller, man. I'm a controller guy. And I don't know if that's like...
Sure I can trust you with that car?
Like freaking telling that Santa isn't real or something, but like... The main thing is that what we record in our videos isn't ever wheel necessary. We always do mini games and challenges and random things and hide and seek and stuff of this nature. So it's like it's not competitive racing. If anything... A wheel can kind of get in the way of some of the stuff that we normally record. But because I played so much controller, I'm just so used to that now. And of course, if I'm going to have to like set up my wheel, it's kind of like I'm lazy. I don't feel like getting it all set up and wired in and all this kind of stuff.
Kind of fitting considering.
So you say I got to get into sim racing, but I swear, like I feel like sim content is boring unless you're already the best. And the best have already solidified their name into history. You got Super GT. You got... I mean, all these guys, they're already... Now, I mean, some of those guys, they're already racing in real life. GT4 cars. Crazy feats. Stuff that I have so much respect for. And so I feel like if I come in here... One, like, I don't think it's not naturally entertaining content, meaning that, like, if most people just make sim content, most people don't watch it. The only people that do watch sim content, like channels like Super GT, is because he's literally, like, some of the best of the best. And so, yeah, I just feel like, and so, I mean, yeah, I think I'd love to get into it to maybe improve my abilities behind the wheel. But I also like seeking opportunities for that, like in real life. Not saying that I'd want to pursue a racing career or even like a dedicated track car, but you know, I've been fortunate to have some nice experiences with exotic racing experiences or track days of various cars of my own being out there, racing schools, stuff of that nature. And I enjoy improving that way. But yeah, I guess if I were to ever get into sim racing, it'd probably be for the sake of my own self-improvement and self-enjoyment. But I just can't see how the content would be that entertaining. It would be good to make a video about it, but like, would it though? I need to play BeamNG. Yeah. I think wheel content could be good. Like how Gooseus films his videos. He just films his wheel. And see, he's not necessarily sim racing. He's got wheel cam on. So I wouldn't be opposed to doing that. I think there's kind of an ASMR like satisfying element of watching people play racing games and just watching their wheel movement as they drive. But that, like I said, that's different than actual sim racing. Dude, we gotta get the Thrust SSC in Forza. I sold my 240SX because I just stopped drifting it. It was... A lot of my friends, some of them sold their cars, some of them moved. When I first got into drifting, we had a really committed friend group to it that made it fun. Kind of like how you go play sports with your guys' friends. You go out and you go do activities. And what makes them fun is because you do them with your buddies. And the group, I think, was the starting point on kind of like dissolving things. And then so yeah, to do it by yourself, it's a huge commitment to have to. You gotta make sure your car is all maintained. You gotta make sure your fluids are all good. You gotta go load up your trailer. You gotta load up all your tools. Then when I was up in Seattle, I mean, the closest tracks, I mean, there was one that was Evergreen, wasn't that far, but I mean, Evergreen was like you're sitting in line all day. Going down to Spirit is like a 2.5 hour drive. It's a lot, and it was worth it when I was doing it with friends. But by myself, it kind of like I would lack the motivation to get out there. And then there became a point when even the videos started to slow down. So I'm like, okay, at least on a numbers standpoint, it doesn't seem like people are like really that crazy about me doing this. So yeah, I wasn't out there as much, and then you have this drift car that just sits around in my garage all day, and it has to sit around in my garage because it's bright pink and it's flashy and it's very easy to steal. So it takes up a spot, and it is worth something. I forgot how much I sold it for, if it was like 20 or something like that. But you know, that's still, you know, that's a decent car. So yeah, I think there's a standard on YouTube of a lot of guys because they just keep everything. So it's just like when some of us, we sell cars, the fans are like, how? But I'm pretty... This is coming from a guy that still has 6 cars, keep in mind. I feel like I'm decently disciplined on actually like letting go of things when I realize that I stopped using it as much. Just because, yeah, you know, I don't have infinite money, and that money could be used for other things and other projects and other things that will be more entertaining because they'll be new. And I also, this is my tip of advice for you guys out there, is that I think it's great to if you have the opportunity to own multiple vehicles over one really expensive one, it could be a lot more fun that way. You know, especially if the cars are different in characteristics. So you have a different car for a different occasion. Now, some people though, I think, like need to keep everything, and they have a little bit of the hoarder mentality. And they also have a little bit of attachment to like what might have been their first build or their first car. And so they're like, I gotta hold on to this, but I also want this, and I also want this, and I also want this. And it's like, what I want to see people do around me is I just want to see people level up in the world. I want to see people go from, you know, your cheap Corolla to your FRS, to then your Supra, to then your Porsche 9, your Carrera S, to then your GT2. Like, I want to see that. Versus people that are like, I got to keep this, but then I'm also going to buy this cheap project that I got, but then I'm also going to buy this cheap. Because the odds of that, also, the reality of those scenarios is that, like, first of all, people just people can't keep track of all this stuff. So you just end up having a ton of these cars that just sit around. You never get to them. And you never get to like hang out and all this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of friends that have a lot of that tend to be more on the project car side of things. And then I know friends that buy more stockish, nicer, newer cars. And a lot of people think that those stockish, newer cars are more boring. And like, yeah, that there's obviously I'm all for people wanting to do their dream builds and put all their personality into something. But as a friend, those people that have those stockish newer cars, they always pull up to the function in them. When we've meeting up, when we go in to get boba, when we go on a cruise, when we go in to do things, like they be pulling up in that whatever it is, if it's a newer M3, an RS5, a Mustang, Camaro, whatever. I get to see them in that car all the time. I get to share all these memories with, like, you know, cruising around in them in their car, all this stuff. And I love that. And then the friend that has the broken, beat up, freaking 90s Nissan, I never get to see that homie pull up because his car's always broken. And so what I'm saying is find a way to work your way up the tree and let go of, even if it's your first car or even if there is some sentimental value, work up to maybe some stuff that, you know, can be a little more reliable and you know, and stuff of that nature. Because I just, as a friend, I just want to see the homies pull up, and I just want to hang with the homies and create memories with the homies. And I think at the end of the day, that's a huge part of why we build our cars and why we have fun cars, are for sharing them with others and for also all these memories. And so yeah, and I mean, all this can sound very like no duh, and this could be like, I don't know, corny spiel, but I don't know, the way I look at it is you'd be surprised how many people I feel like don't really see that picture in that way. And so they tell me, you know, they won't sell this car, but they also want this other car. And in my head, I'm like, I think it'd be a complete upgrade if you just sold your sentimental first car or your early car and then just got something nicer. And I think I'd rather see you in that. But it's not easy to just tell them that because I know how much that car means to them. And I know that, you know, that they may even take offense to it, you know? But since I don't know y'all and I'm not talking to y'all face to face, I could say it out to the internet right now. My most reliable car so far, this is a really good question. I love this question. My most reliable car so far has probably been my S2000. And that's why I learned about Honda. Don't get, like, dude, I'm one of the number one, like, Honda haters at first. Like, I still, like, I mean, dude, like, I mean, I'm not much of an OG Civic guy, or a Honda nerd. But, S2000 taught me the way. Because I bought this thing, and in my mind, I'm used to all this experience I've had with old Japanese cars from all my Nissans. So I buy this old used Japanese car, the S2000, and I hop in it, and I'm just so ready for all these little things that don't work. The freaking overhead little, the overhead lights, there's a freaking word for them, I'm blanking out, like, that are by where, like, usually your the roof lights or whatever, where your sunglasses are stored. The cruise control, the freaking, your air conditioning, the speakers, all these little things that just over time of age or just of use usually don't work when you buy an older used car like this. Everything in that S2000 worked, and it still does to this day. And I mean, I have so much, I mean, I'll literally, like, I'll just let friends drive that car around all the time. Like, I just have no fear, no worry. And I've driven that car across several states and road tripped it a long ways. It's been up and down this West Coast, like, twice now, since I've had it. And so, yeah, dude, that's been reliable. The Exorcist has been really reliable. Who knew a 1,000 horsepower car can be as reliable as it is? But I'll tell you what, Chevy, GM Power, LS, even though it's an LT4, same thing. That car has only caused me one bug, and it was a MAF sensor eventually going bad, and I just was able to swap out a new one, and it was the easiest little plug in, plug out. So that car's been great. My Gen 2 R8 was great. The Gen 1 R8 had an AC compressor go out. But the Gen 2 R8, no issues. And that car, yeah, yeah, I'm trying to go down the line here. Because my Ford Raptor had the cam phaser issue. That's a freaking like $4,000 job, and that's like a thing that was recalled, but eventually your car will be out of like, or eventually, well, actually, I don't know if it was recalled, but eventually your car will be out of warranty for it or something like that, so you have to pay for it and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the Raptors have that issue. All the Nissans have had issues. The Zs, every S chassis. The stream is buffering on my end, so I'm making sure. I don't know if we're still good. The 997 has had a couple things. The door handle latch just recently went, and I just recently Christian just did my spark plugs, which turned out they hadn't been changed since freaking 2007. They're factory spark plugs in the car, which is really bad. I mean, luckily the car only has 60,000 miles, but from 2007. So thank God we got that and coil packs done. But yeah, there was a misfire code because of that. But yeah, I think I've learned from experience, and then so it's funny because yeah, a lot of your take on cars can be forged from having actual, from owning platforms, and so that's why from my experience, the Gen 2 R8 platform, which also then segues into the Huracan platform, is bulletproof and good, and I look at those and I'm like, I support those. The ZL1 platform is also bulletproof, and I also really support. Yeah, those are great. Even SS's included, and a lot of like Corvettes included, all those. And then S2000, and the S2000 kind of speaks on a lot of Hondas for me. I mean, our buddy Justin, he has a freaking Civic that he dailies that's got over 200,000 miles on it. Thing's still going strong. So, yeah. All right, bye, Caden. Amazed how 1,000 horsepower car is more reliable than most 1,000 horsepower cars. Yeah. Yeah, Integras and RSXs are pretty durable. Yup. One of my favorite American cars is the 2005 Ford GT. The itch for that car and the lust for it has grown as I've kind of gotten the Mercy treatment, just because yeah, I'm just so obsessed over the golden era of exotic cars from the mid 2000s, and the Ford GT is a huge staple in that. But from owners, I've heard phenomenal things about it, on how reliable it is, how usable it is, how dailyable they are. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a Coyote V8 back there. It's just a Ford. It's manual. And they're gorgeous. And they're just so cool, man. And then they actually... We were talking about the differences between... you can't compare an American V8 to that of a V10, V12 like a Lamborghini. But... there are some old clips out there on Super Speeders Rob and other stuff of, like, a straight-piped 05 GT... Man, those things, it's probably one of the best sounding American V8s I've heard out of a car. Just the sound on throttle, the upshifts, and oh man. So that is one of my favorite American cars. And so I'm getting, you guys are spamming all the questions in now. I have so much to answer. Someone asked what it seemed like reliability wise, what car has been the worst. And I think solidly, I have had to do the most amount of work, and it probably, as far as like when I've gotten in it and there's always something at least wrong, and either I just kind of like live with it or I have to like get to it. It was always the S14. But I just say that it's kind of unfair to that car because I literally drifted it, and any drift car, like drifting is one of the most beating on a car activities you could do. You're just you know, almost always hitting, you're like tapping limiter as you're not even like going in straight line for direct airflow. And so, yeah, it's a lot for it. But I think I'm so used to that answer to that question being my Skyline, because, you know, there was a time where I did a lot. There was a lot wrong with the Skyline. You know, I bought it, and the Skyline's turbo seals were immediately bad, so it needed new turbos. Then we enjoyed that for like a month or two, and then we blew up the RB26. So then we swapped in a whole new motor. But while it was sitting outside with the motor blown, it got broken into. And so the boost gauge and like the center console pieces and stuff all got stolen. So we had to replace all that. The ignition got hacked into because they tried to hotwire it and steal it. So we had to replace the ignition. And then I replaced the starter motor myself on the Skyline. And there was a control arm that actually bent out randomly on that car too. I had to get done. So I'd say the Skyline is up there between it's caused a lot, and there currently is a power steering leak that kind of has always existed that I've just kind of lived with. So this is a really good question. I feel like most people don't really care on what some Forza YouTuber would have to possibly say about the LaFerrari replacement, the F80, and the P1 replacement, the W1. But I have very passionate thoughts on this matter that I do want to share. In that, when I saw the W1, I was disappointed in that it doesn't have the presence to me at first glance of an Ultimate Series car. A McLaren Ultimate Series car is basically any of their hypercars. You know, you have the P1, you have the Senna. They make a lot. They had the Solus they just did. You have the Speedtail. They have the Sabre. And they're all the same. They're all, you know, V8, twin turbo. They all sound similar. They all got similar tech. Now, this one is a bigger deal because it being called W1, it's like replacing the P1 out of all those McLarens I just listed out of the Ultimate Series. The P1 is by far the most iconic if we're excluding the F1, of course. And so the W1 replacing the P1 in a lineage of F1 and P1 is huge shoes to fill. And when I saw what it looked like, I was definitely disappointed because the first thing to me that kind of needs to stand out when you're making a car that's on that level is that just the silhouette of it alone just doesn't strike me as a hypercar. The way that I would put it is that the W1 looks like I would buy it as a 720 replacement, like a 720 platform replacement or a 750S platform replacement. It's like we had the 720S, the 750S was the facelift. Now it's time for a new generation, and you have what looks like the W1. And if it looked like that I think it looks like it belongs in that category. It doesn't look like it fills the appropriate shoes of the P1, in my opinion, because, yeah, the P1, the silhouette of it has these voluptuous hips, and it just looks like a UFO, and it has such an iconic, all the lines, and such a simplistic, iconic design, whereas this W1 is very jagged, has so many, like, aerodynamic and bends and all these things to make it seem aggressive, but it almost seems excessive, and it almost looks like a Lykan Hypersport, and it just doesn't, yeah, it doesn't really just initially strike me as deserving of the place of that. Yeah, the Solus does have a V10. But I like the long tail innovation. And it's funny, there were recently some spy photos that came out of the W1 with the full spy camo. And because the spy camo hides all the vents and all of the, I guess what I could say, kind of busyness of the car in a way of making it more busy, it actually looks better. It's the first time I've seen a spy camo car that, like, I actually prefer in that form than in the release renders that we saw. But it just yeah, so that car is just a little bit disappointing for me. Maybe it can grow, I don't know. The F80 Ferrari, I think, nails the silhouette part down a lot more. It very much so, to me, has the stance and just the presence of a Ferrari hypercar, a car that's clearly above the marks of a Ferrari F8 and a 296. Now, it's questionable. Everyone says it looks like a Lego Technic car. A lot of people don't like it. And then, of course, you have the whole sound. You have the V6 thing. Now, if you were surprised that it has a V6 hybrid, like, that's on you. Because we knew, like, we all knew, like, Ferrari is all about bringing their F1, their current racing technology, onto the road. And they're a very innovative company. And so I think it can fit the fact that they're bringing their direct F1 racing stuff into, their hypercar. And also from an engineering standpoint, the output of that V6 is insane. The amount of power that just the V6 alone makes, it's like something stupid. It's like 800 horsepower out of a V6 or whatever, just alone on its own end, or something crazy. So the innovations is ridiculous. Now the sound, there's none of it. I've heard a track flyby clip, and it could have been an EV for all I knew. And that is extremely disappointing. And yeah, that's a problem. Like, there's a reason why a LaFerrari is a LaFerrari or an SP3 is an SP3, is because that's the only mid-engine V12 platform modern Ferrari that you get, Now it's like you're essentially getting a glorified 296 with hybrid and all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, the sound, being a sound guy, yeah, that really sucks. But back over to the looks, I actually kind of like that there are some innuendos of the F40, and it really has a really ambitious, just like, I just imagine the road presence of, especially from the rear three quarters or the rear alone, seeing that thing on the freeway. That is a pretty insane car. And truth be told, the Ferrari F80 looks like, I'm gonna get to the front end in a second here, but from most angles, it looks like this concept car from like 10 years ago that, like, I would never believe will, just be driving on the streets. But on the front end, it takes the Dodici 12 Cylindri, the Daytona style freaking sad eyes looking headlights or whatever. And yeah, that kind of ain't it. And I think a lot of people, I think that's one of the, I think the black streak alone, if you just get rid of the black freaking, it looks like those black covers that freaking cheap cars around here you'd find, like, protecting their hood or whatever have on. Yeah, there could be some improvements there. Not that there are going to be any, but I am an advocate more so. I'm currently leaning more so on F80 than W1, just because. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is probably what I would still take, even though, yeah, it sounds invisible. But hey, man, we'll hopefully find some way to straight pipe it and make it sound decent. But
aren't just great to look at. 3 customized cars, 1 from each Liberty line, to get you through a grand
Racing Freak wants me to talk about the E46. The E46 is one of the few, if I'm going to try and hold myself to not ever buying a BMW, the E46 is one of those cars that might break that. E46 M3. Just because I've had a lot of fun in E46 M3s. And I think, like, if you dial it up right too, like, man, that is a 10 out of 10 driver's car. It's kind of like a 350Z though, where, like, you got to put in a lot of work to make the S54 sound good. It's very raspy and not very crazy sounding out the gate, in my opinion. But I've heard some decent sounding setups.
It's the longest race Motorfest has organized so far. These cars can go the distance. Can you?
But yes, actually, yeah, the SP3 Daytona definitely should have been the LaFerrari, like, replacement. And in a way, it will always be. But in another way, it's kind of weird because I always felt like the rollout of that car was so random. I kind of, like, learned after it existed, kind of about its existence. Whereas, like, clearly the F80, as soon as it debuted, it was everywhere on the internet. And so, yeah, I kind of wish it was just a little more... It had a little more of a solid place in the world. But the SP3 is... I think it's also a gorgeous car. And it's the last of the NA. The true NA power. I don't know much about the SF90 besides the fact that it's fast and it has depreciated. One of the worst investments you could have made in the past year in a car. Because it's a car that was once $900,000 that is now coming down to $400,000. So there are people out there that have financed these and are literally like... they could be negative in money in their car.
Playlists. Actually, this time they're going for a whole 50 miles extra. So I hope you've had your breakfast. Not messing with you. You just signed up for a race that goes around the whole island. A full loop. During which you'll be driving...
Do I like the Ferrari FF? That's a really good question. I would say I don't. I don't like the looks of it. But here's the thing. I would want to buy a Ferrari FF. Because yes, it is one of those cheap Ferraris... that's come down so much in price that for like low hundreds, for literally like 110, 120, you could have the same V12 out of a Ferrari F12, have it scream. I believe that the FF has a dual clutch. And I mean, it is, you could daily it. It's a hatchback. I just think, yeah, it's not that good looking of a... I don't think, honestly, it's not that bad looking of a car. It's just the fact that it's a Ferrari, and it's like Ferraris has such a standard to them, and so yeah, I think it definitely, you know, I think the name holds so much power in that kind of scenario. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I wish it did look better. I mean, the GTC4 Lusso solves that, but the GTC4 Lusos are so much more expensive than the FFs are. But that's a bargain, man. V12, 2010 level Ferrari for 120 up and buy like the cheapest supercar, live in it for all I know, or live in like a shack. And at that time, I thought it'd be like a Ferrari 360, which was around 100 grand, like 90K, and this is probably back in like 2010 or like 2009 or so. And it's funny now because like, yeah, now if you saved like, you know, 20K more, you could have an FF, which is a freaking V12, much faster, much newer, just a lot crazier Ferrari than like a 360 is. They have different purposes, I will say. And I think a 360 honestly is still prettier than even an FF, but it's just crazy how, yeah, you give it time. You know, there's a lot more options now on if you guys are kind of like in the same boat as me, that you're determined that someday you want to own a supercar. There's a lot more options now that, you know, it can very much be in the cards if you work hard, and play your depreciated cards well. Now you got R8s, you got, obviously you still got the Gallardos, you got Aston Martins, you got Nissan GTRs. What kind of music I listen to? I listen to a lot of EDM. I'm a big EDM junkie, and we'll go to raves here and there. I've done EDC, I've done Ultra, I've done Coachella. I've done all of them except for the Holy Grail, which has always been my life bucket list, which is Tomorrowland. And actually, OG fans know that because we've made Tomorrowland in Minecraft. Oh no, the sound is cutting out. Hopefully it's still staying in. But if you were to also get specific into EDM, I dabble in the genres of tech house and bass house and drum and bass and a little bit of dubstep and a little bit of trap. But yeah, I love the RS6. I love the RS6 Avant. That's a dream daily for sure. I don't know what I've been seeing some questions about Australian cars, but I really have no say on the matter because I'm sorry, I've never been to Australia, and we just don't have Australian cars over here. So yeah, I've kind of been sheltered away from them my whole life. So I really just don't know what to say. Like, I can't really say. I feel like they are comparable to American cars. And so, you know, I have my fix for American cars. You like David Guetta? Yeah, I have a ton of David Guetta. I've seen him a couple times at various festivals and stuff. But yeah, he's an OG. He's one of the OGs of EDM. Yeah, bonus points in Who Man's Boot. Who Man's Book. Let's go. Dude, am I on the Goliath, bro? This is taking forever. Is it because I'm in a Mini Cooper? Out of all the cars I sold, which one I missed the most? The Gen 2 R8. Either that was the obvious answer, or maybe it wasn't, but hey, man. That car... Some cars, they left at a point where I was either like...
There you go. Back with the BMW.
Well, actually, I don't even know what I'd say. That's a car where I really did want to like chase and check off and make the Mercy dream happen, and so it was just that was required to do so. But there was never anything necessarily wrong with with the Gen 2 R8. I mean, same could be said for the Focus RS too. There wasn't anything wrong that I didn't like about the car, and I'd still own the car today. It was kind of like what I did to get to where I'm at, and so. Yeah, I'd say the Focus I miss, and then the Gen 2 R8. If I had to choose one to like magically spawn back for free, definitely the Gen 2 R8. Especially even in its sheepy form with the twin turbos, that was peak. And to be honest, when I sold it, it being a turbo, you know, a freaking 800 horsepower R8, and it had like. I think like 32,000 miles or 33 or something like that. I didn't know how much it had left in it. But it's clearly been used long after since I sold it. So now seeing like the newer owners using it so much, I'm like, man, yeah, I could have really just like I would have had like a solid several thousand miles before who knows what the next service or anything. Because that's another thing, like I mean, it's the same case with the Mercy if I ever sell it too. It would kind of be selling these cars out of fear of like what's down the line that I may have to face. I remember growing up in 2012, my dad always listened to Guetta. That's where my love for EDM was born. Dude, shout out to your dad. We need more dads out here that have gotten us into EDM young. And I think that's really where it started for me too. Like, my dad would play a electronic themed radio station up in Seattle, and that's where I got to learn a lot of the OGs. I got to hear OGs because I got to hear Cascade and some Deadmau5 songs and some Benny Benassi. I got to hear a lot of that stuff at a young age, which is cool. And that definitely spawned my forever liking. But I honestly would describe my music taste, like my like for EDM, in relation to I'm just a very like contemporary, modernistic guy. That's why I like Lambos, and that's why I like, like it's funny how a lot of people kind of like you can almost embody an entire aesthetic like throughout your entire life. It's buffering again. And for me, I'm a much more modern oriented person. So yeah, I love modern, very futuristic spaceship oriented cars with crazy tech and gadgets. I love the engineering behind them. I love music that sounds like it's very sci-fi and has crazy engineered sound elements into it. I listen to a lot of my music because I simply find the sounds in the song cool. Whereas other people listen to music because they connect with the lyrics or they emotionally resonate with the melody. But I'm over here like, the freaking synth in that one drum and bass beat goes so freaking gnarly, and like that's literally what gets me going on a lot of songs. That's not the case for everything. Obviously, there's a time and a place. I have songs that I connect to with lyrics, and I have music that I enjoy the melodies of. But yeah, I think it's funny though how it's just like everyone has a type, and it's like I think that's very much how you describe. And what the? Oh man, I'm just gonna rewind this. He says he's very classic oriented. That and that actually, like, I understand that, because a lot of, like, as you get older, you do discover that things get worse as they get newer, as things evolve. There's an element of nostalgia in being the guy with a stick up his butt, like freaking, there's an element of that, but there's also an objective element, as like you compare like old like quality furniture to cheap plastic IKEA furniture. You compare, quality like produced, older music with, probably stuff that is a lot more like business, like just like simply tossed together. You compare movies with real effects, real practical effects, and better story writing, and just so much more for the art. And now you got just basic CGI nonsense. And just I think capitalism is probably the biggest thing to just blame, as just new stuff is worse stuff. And then of course with cars, there's an element of that too. I think there's a lot of arguments for what you get in a new car. There's a lot, it's a lot more like, there's a lot more goodies, there's a lot more power, and there's just a lot more at your fingertips than an older car. But I also understand when people appreciate the older cars more on just like the quality parts, the craftsmanship, and also how the simplicity and the maintainability. Rap music now sucks. Rap music, I feel like, to me, is in a wave that it's just not in its prime. But I've gotten so sucked down the EDM rabbit hole in the last like 4 years or so that I feel like it also could be. I'm just like, I don't come across rap. But I kind of have an element of, I kind of feel like rap's last great era was like the 2017 and 2018 era of Drake was on fire, making tracks like Non-Stop and God's Plan, and then Travis Scott put out Astroworld, and there was just so much. You had X, there was so much going on. You had Juice. There was a lot out there. But it was funny because simultaneously that era of rap was the same era of mumble rap really forging its way into the industry, and people hating on that, and all that. So I don't even know where rap is right now, to be honest. Because I'll tell you, I'd actually be surprised. Coming from someone that listens to mainly just EDM, I was surprised. Basically, all the people's stories that posted their Spotify raps, it's mainly rap artists that, people of our generations, younger male teens are listening to. So it's got to somehow still be in enough that people are still listening to it. Why did I move from Arizona to Arizona from Washington? I moved because Washington just rains too much out of the year. It's too cloudy and too rainy. It's rainy like 7 months out of the year. So this time of year right now, it's impossible to do anything car related because it's just wet and cold. Even if you're not trying to like hook in a straight line, simply just hanging outside isn't fun because you're freezing or it's raining. And on top of that, there's seasonal depression that comes with that. And then there's a lot of traffic up in the Seattle area that I lived at. And then the cost of living up there is pretty expensive. Living in the Seattle area is not shy away from SoCal and LA and California living. And so being in the position that I am at, where I'm not contracted to live in a certain place, I actually can live anywhere in the world I really want. I was like, why don't I try out a place that could possibly have more benefits to my lifestyle and what I wanted? And why Arizona? Well, I don't really want to go as far as to anywhere east of Texas in this country. It's just too far from Seattle to me. It's just, I just don't want to. And then Texas is just a little too flat, and kind of dull, or just plain, I guess. Not dull, but like more plain. And California is always been like a little lingering dream, but it's so absurdly expensive, and there's more traffic there than in Seattle. And then the regulations on cars there are, obviously some of you guys have heard that they are, you could get pulled over and state refed and all this stuff for anything. So that's what led me here to Arizona, because it is still close to California, so I can attend events in LA. I can attend events in Las Vegas, and there's less traffic, there's sunshine, there's a good car scene here, there's a lot of people I already knew, and it's kind of funny because a lot of the desert things about this area that people complain about, I have a better tolerance to, I think, than most people. I get cold real easily, so I can handle the heat a lot more. And I also don't mind the landscape of it just being just desert, because I grew up in Evergreen, Washington my entire life, so I totally take it for granted, and I totally am only used to that. So the desert is actually like a breath of fresh air. But yes, Arizona is excruciatingly hot. It's literally freaking 100 degrees from May to October. And so yeah, that's the catch. But I think on this note, I think I'm gonna cut the stream to a close. We've gone for 3 hours. I was planning on only doing 2. Didn't think we'd make it this far, but you guys actually kept me more than entertained. So thank you for you guys for hanging out with me in here and asking me questions. Thank you for the fact that there's still 121 of y'all. Like, I'm honored. So yeah, we should definitely do this again sometime. But yeah, go click the link, go play the Crew Motorfest for free before this deal goes away. It'll still be up for another week or so. Link is in the description. But yeah, I see there's spam now in the chat, so we'll have to get a moderator for the next one.